Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to our select board meeting. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I would ask that you can take a check on your cell phone, and if you're not required to be notified from emergency service, would you please turn it down a little bit. Before we get started, I'd like to ask the board's permission on what I handed out to you concerning Rubenstein property with John Wallace. I would like to have this as a public hearing so that we can take care of this. Does anybody object to that? See nobody's objecting, please make a note in the, that the vote was there for the chair to change, or the board to change rather, the agenda. Mr. Wallace, you are up, please.
Thank you, and thank you for getting me on the agenda early. I really appreciate it. This is just the Rubenstein property, as you may recall, is part of this project to basically double the size of the Goodwill conservation area. It's one of the properties along with Haley and Panish that are behind it, that you guys approved, supported the project, I forget, 4 or 5 months ago at least now. What's come to light to make this some slight matter of urgency is the Rubenstein estate would very much like to get rid of the property by the end of this calendar year. So a few weeks ago, I talked to the fellow in charge of that estate, and he asked if he could just make a gift of the town to the town of this property as conservation land, so they can take it as a charitable deduction, so on and so forth, by the end of the year. As I say, you guys already approved the overall project. I just wanted to make sure we're on board so I can turn the crank and make everything happen so far this year. We've already done at least a little preliminary hazardous waste assessment on it. There was nothing that shows up on it. And I believe the title work is already being undertaken by the town attorney. So I just want to get your blessing for that and any public comment on it, of course, as well.
Is there any comments from the board, please? John, very, very fine job. I've read the paperwork you sent, especially when going for the waste. Now, is there any public comment, please, concerning this piece of property, Rubenstein property? Seeing how there is no public comment, do I have a motion? And I'm going to close the public comment side of it, please. Does board members have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the Rubenstein property.
I have a motion to accept the property.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. Bailey, aye.
Nap aye.
Hatch aye. Hardikoff aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, which one
Motion
might be
carries.
easy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. I
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
So do we.
it. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience on that. We appreciate that. Next on our appointments, we have the Recreation Commission for the Green Play Consultants. Now, who is going to, why don't I allow you to take care of it and help me out? Would you please? Thank you.
All right. So Green Play is here to present the findings of our surveys that we have done for the last 3 or 4 months. What?
A little louder, a little closer, yes.
Okay, so Green Play is here to present the findings of the surveys that went out for our strategic plan. Myself and Green Play met this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and then they just had a small meeting with the Rec Commission, and we just want to make sure that the selectmen or select board are kept in the loop. And that being said, I am going to hand this over to Tom from Green Play.
Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to be here. I have with me David with Design Concepts and Cindy, who's also with Green Play. Did Adam meet this group before? You may have previously met Adam Bossy. He was the original project manager. I've worked with him on several projects and with David, Cindy, and many. And Adam had a personal family issue, so I've stepped in to finish up the project. So basically, we're here now doing our findings. We're at the point where we're coming and updating you on what we've heard up to this point. No decisions have been made. We're still gathering information. We're still looking for input. See if that's going to work. Maybe not. So, as far as a master plan goes, there's 4 major components to a plan. There's a lot on the slides. We're going to give it to you electronically afterwards so you could dive into it or post it on your website. But we're basically at step 2, which is where we're coming and reporting what we've learned up to this point and giving you the beginning of our vision for recommendations. Cindy, if you want to go to the next slide, and I think
So as part of the process of developing the plan with Tara and staff and the community, we had a number of methods that we used, and we are trying to have a holistic approach to the process, which includes a survey that was conducted. We had 60 people plus attend and staff attend focus groups working with us to give us feedback and information. Dave did an extensive review of the properties, and both conservation properties as well as recreation properties, and looked at those and mapped those, which we'll see a little bit later. And we had very good response to the survey, so that was very positive. So the information that we received, both from the random survey as well as what's called an open link survey, is where people can just come on, once they know about the survey, they can come on and take the survey. And it's typically the users of the programs that take that open link survey, and the random is more of a broad range of people that may or may not use the programs.
And we also did a document review. We received many documents from Tara that we've gone through and reviewed. Then there's our own observations of your programs and activities and conversations with staff. So again, many Cindy said, many different methodologies. This doesn't work, so I guess I'll go to the next slide, sorry.
So just a brief mention of the demographics, which you're probably already very familiar with, but it's probably no surprise to know that the population in Barrington has been increasing gradually, and that is definitely a trend that we're seeing, so it's something for us to keep in mind as we make recommendations. The median age of the community members is roughly 44 years old, and the median income roughly 78.9, it looks like. And the significance of this information is that when we look at state of New Hampshire trends also, we know that there is an aging population statewide as well, and that there's also a migration into New Hampshire, which is also positive. So the increase in population is probably set to continue, which will help us inform the plan as to what types of programming we might want to consider for people that might be 55 and better.
And also then, you'll see when we do the review of the survey, the demographics of the survey compare favorably with the demographics of your community. So this is starting to discuss the survey. The survey firm we worked with gave us the top 10 findings. These are 5 of the top 10. I've highlighted in these ovals the things I want to point out to you. Basically, the open link respondents were more likely to use your programs. They were also more likely to be younger and have children in their family. So it leads to a slightly different response. As I said, the open link more likely to respond. Everyone that took the survey, they were overall satisfied with the programs that are offered. That was a general feel of the survey. As far as programming, the invitation survey rated adult programming more important. The open link rated the youth programming as more important. They have children in their homes. As far as the top programs, Open Link, it was the kids' day off camp, vacation camps, the ASK program, youth soccer. They were rated as the most important. Next slide, please. Only two, we scored all of the programs on a 1 to 5. You don't want to be one that's low, you'd like to be near 5. All of your programs were 3 and above, which was very good. The two that rated the lowest amongst, I think that was among the invitation, was yoga and the Barrington Brew Tour. Those were the ones that people thought you could maybe do a little better job at. As far as future things, invitation respondents talked about hike trails, open space, natural areas as things to focus on. The Open Link talked about indoor facilities and the MAP program. As far as funding, over 50% of the overall survey respondents indicated support for a foundation for Parks and Recreation. Okay. As far as communication, the invitation respondents didn't think the communication was quite as good as what the Open Link respondents thought. And again, that's probably because the Open Link respondents are coming to programs and things and are getting more communication. The biggest takeaway was that overall respondents praised the department for their current work. So there was a lot of positive. Next slide, please. So again, on the left, it's talking about the invitation sample. Those are a mix of individuals, mainly households without kids, that are similar to your overall demographic of your community. Users and non-users, it really represents the entire Barrington community. The Open Link, it's a little less diverse. More of the households had kids. Higher percentage of people that took the survey there were users, which is a good thing. And it doesn't totally represent your community. So we looked at both things, not just one or the other. And they were similar a lot. Next slide, please. So again,
Sure.
sorry.
So, no problem.
Yeah.
Continuing with, this is the demographic representation from the survey itself, so you can see that it pretty much aligns with the demographics that we researched for the community with our other sources. And so that's just age and race and ethnic and gender, so pretty standard. And continuing on, the one difference that we did see with the median income being represented on the earlier demographics, around $75,000, the people that responded to the survey, their median income was a bit higher than that. And the demographics for the categories of household, children at home, which is pretty much in line with what we've been seeing in the focus groups and the people that are responding in the Open Link. The dog question is always fun to get information on that, because that can inform us around programs that might be dog friendly, like open the pool to the dogs, dog training classes, that kind of thing that can inform people that pets are very, very popular and nationally have a big, strong sort of expenditure. And then accessible services, that was a pretty telling that the people that responded did not have a need for accessibility services.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. And then, so the significance of this slide with the registered voters, people that own their residences, and the number of years people have lived in Barrington, that speaks to the people that have the decision-making kind of power in the household, where they are registered voters, so they can comment and inform on questions that might come up about recreation, and then they're homeowners, so the tax burden is on them, and so they have a particular link to that aspect of future funding requests. And then the living is interesting because the 0 to 5 years means that there is a young, maybe newer population coming into town, which is in alignment with the state statistics that we've looked at. And then the folks that have lived here for 20 or more years are the ones that are really showing us that they appreciate the recreation department and have over the years that they've been participating.
All right, so then we started looking at satisfaction of programs, services, and facilities. The invitation link rated them all at a 3.9, which is very good. The open link rated them at 3.7, 4.0, and 3.7. So just a little bit lower on two areas, but very similar. So we're getting similar data. Next slide, please. So as far as importance of future programming, the open link, they rated youth programs as the most important thing for them. And they didn't rate senior programs quite as high, again, because of the demographics of the open link. Next slide. When you compare the program and activities between the two groups, on the left is the invitation. You'll see yoga rated highest, and theirs is in numerical order. Over to the right is the open link, a comparison of how they scored them. They can't be in numerical order because they're on the same line. But you can see that the invitation rated yoga has the highest, where the open link rated some things higher, like youth soccer, vacation camp, kids day off, the kids programs. So it's a consistent theme. Next slide, please. So here, if you look, they're almost identical patterns. So again, consistent theme. So we're learning a lot about your community. Next slide, please. In a second, I'm going to show you a matrix. If you're in the upper left, it's something that the community has identified as highly important, but you're not meeting the needs. So you don't want a lot of things in the upper left. In the upper right are things that are identified as highly important, and you're highly meeting their needs, so you'd like to be up there. In the lower left, they're not as important to the overall community, but you're not really meeting the people's needs. You don't want to focus a lot of energy there, but it's something you could look at. In the bottom right, it's not important to the whole community, but you're meeting the needs very well. So if we can go to the next slide, I put those same, what do you want to call them, clarifications in the corner, but basically you want to be in that oval. And it is a little bit subjective, but other than yoga, from the invitation sample, they're indicating that most of your programs are performing the way they should be, and you're putting the right amount of effort into things. You'd like to move yoga to the right. You would like to maybe move the Brew Tour to the right. The things down in the lower, there's just not as many people participating in those. And this is the invitation survey. So that's people that got it mailed at home. If you go to the next slide, this is the open link. So these are people that went out of their way to tell you something. You can see some of the ones in the bottom left, they've kind of told you they're important. It's important to them, maybe not to the overall community as a whole. But again, horseback riding is outside of the arc, curling club, some of those things. But overall, you're doing the right thing with programs according to how the community responded to the survey. As far as future importance, both groups rated trails as the most important thing to address. Community events was the second most important thing to address. Aquatic facilities, indoor, outdoor community gathering spaces. The open link put children's sports and athletic programs and children art and cultural higher than the invitation. Again, the same theme. So here is importance of the second half of that, and they're pretty similar. If you look at the dots, they're very closely related. So it's giving us good data. Next slide, please. As far as future importance, if you look, the invite, 66% said increase awareness of adult programs. The biggest number for the open link, 54%, increase different hours, and 54% a wide diversity of program offerings. So they're looking for more ages. But those are kind of the things that we should focus on, is increase awareness of adult programs, all programs, see what you can do in the way of additional facilities or amenities, maybe look at the hours of operation, and increase awareness of children's programs. As far as level of support for funding, the invitation respondents said that if fees were increased, it would not affect their ability to participate. The open link said it may affect their ability to participate. But there were other ways that we heard that there is support for paying fees for things that have value. As far as communication goes, the invitation group didn't think the communication was as effective as the open link. Again, the open link where people come into your programs, they're here, they're connected, they're seeing things, they're sharing their email, things like that. Next slide, please. As far as methods of receiving information, both groups want emails from the town. Both groups want the internet and the website a little bit stronger from the open link. Both groups want social media. The invitation want to learn more through the Town Common newsletter, through your newsletter. Okay? We received many comments, lots of them positive, so we sift through all of those. That's very important, and the next slide will show that in a moment. But there, you know, here you have someone saying that they are doing a great job. Someone else is saying they're not aware of everything that's offered. Someone else is saying everything is offered. So there's a lot. Next slide. This is a word cloud. They run an algorithm that takes the words that were reported the most in the comments, and they become the largest and in the center. So program was the most mentioned word. Town, use, more. Those were the most. You don't see facility up there. You don't offer a lot of facilities, so there wasn't a lot of feedback about we like our facilities, you need to fix our facilities, things like that. What the feedback was about programs. Okay? And I think you were going to say that, but I talked, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So as far as trends go, the Outdoor Industry Association put together the 2018 trends. That's on the far right. The number one thing that people are doing for exercise is walking. Everyone's telling you get out of the chair and move. If you look at the left is what Barrington adults are doing. And the things that you're doing, hiking is way up there, camping, both involve most likely a lot of moving. Same with mountain biking and road biking. So you're pretty consistent with the trends. And looking at what you do and the trends that are national talks about, you know, doing things with your trails, and we'll get into that in a little bit. This doesn't work.
I can't stand back there. So I went out and looked at all the properties. I went out and looked at the town playground, and then I went to a lot of the conservation properties too. And I guess what I found was that the conservation lands and the alternative providers provide an important level of service here, because you don't have like Tom said, you don't have a whole lot of facilities. You do a lot of programming. Tara does a great job of programming, but she's doing it kind of all over town, at the schools, at her little facility over here, but really, primarily you have a lot of alternative providers that are very important. So the other big finding that was to me, not to you, but you can't really walk anywhere here. You have to get in your car and drive to any of these facilities. So that was kind of my aha moment. This is a simple map of where things are. The different colors represent whether it's your property or conservation lands or alternative providers, state park land, those types of things. So I think basically here what we see is that things are kind of distributed around town. They may be different colors, but a lot of times people don't care kind of what color it is. They just want to know, can I go there and what's there to do there. So that's really what we looked at. When I go to these properties, what is there to do? This is looking at that drive time. So we can't walk anywhere. So if we look at the top 3 maps, the purple means that I can drive to a facility either within 5 minutes, which is the left one. The middle one is 10-minute drive, I can drive to something. And the right one is within 15 minutes, everybody in town can at least drive to something. So we can celebrate that. We don't have to drive 30 minutes to get to something. We don't have people that don't have access at all. On the bottom, I included the alternative providers. So some of these other facilities, golf course, some of the private facilities, so you have a little bit better coverage when you include those other facilities, those private providers. So again, 5, 10, 15-minute drive, 5 and 10-minute drive on the alternative providers. So again, I think pretty good coverage considering we have to drive to get there. We're probably not going to change that. The other thing that we look at when we do GRASP is really about me going to those facilities and finding out what there is to do. So I go to the town playground and I see there's a playground there. Then you put in a new playground there. Put in a great new playground that's very high quality. You also have a piece of open turf there, so kids can go play soccer, they can go throw the frisbee, they can go. So I'm looking at those things that you can do at a property, not just that there's a green space that you can go to. Schools also have playgrounds. They have the courts, they have the walking track around the elementary school, and some green space where they can go kick the soccer ball. So that's what GRASP really is doing this component base, so it matters what's in a park or in a facility, things that I can go do. And we're going to map all this in GIS and show you kind of where those concentrations of things and good things to go do are in town. Next slide. And really it's about quality, so kind of this is pretty obvious here, but which one of those playgrounds is a healthier dose of fun? Which playground would you rather send your kids to? So a lot of companies that go out and do level of service don't make this distinguish. A playground is a playground. In our case, there's a difference between these two playgrounds. And that's really important to us. It's really important to your users that you know where your good playgrounds are. So GRASP is really looking at that quality of facilities. And this mapping kind of shows you that quality. Again, where are the concentrations of things and good things to go do in town? And this is again based on that drive time. So 5, 10, 15 minutes to your lands. And your lands, I included the conservation land as kind of your lands. But we see at 5 minutes, we kind of have this concentration. And again, because we have so much stuff at the schools and we're relying on the schools, that there's stuff to do around that area. So we see that concentration. This is the elementary school, if you will, of things are kind of concentrated in that area for recreational opportunities. And we see some other kind of outlying areas. If we go to 10 minutes, so people have to drive a little bit farther, we're kind of identifying kind of that north and east half of town as kind of having the most access to the best things. And if we look at 15 minutes, then again, once again, people have access to things. The darker the orange, the more access I have, and the better access I have. We include the alternative providers. We have a similar map. So the things that we would begin to look at here is, are there people that live in these gray areas? Are there people that live here and in these areas? So that would be something that we would look at, and we would call a gap area. You don't necessarily always have to provide level of service in those gap areas. It could be a big conservation area. It could be an airport. We did a project in Arlington County, Virginia. There's this big gray area in northern Arlington County. It's Arlington National Cemetery. They don't need level of service at Arlington National Cemetery. Those people aren't using the facilities. So just because something's gray doesn't mean we have to provide level of service there. But that would be our next step to identify those gaps. Question?
those gray areas, did you check density in those areas or?
That would be our next step.
Okay.
Yep. So does this kind of make sense to you though, I guess, is what we're coming back to you now and saying, this is what we found, you know, these areas would be areas that we would look at, and if you think those are important. Yes?
Would it make sense to put an oval, a walkway around here? Like Rochester Common has a, people walk around the common all day.
So loop walks are very major trend in the country right now, and it's very important that people kind of have that oval type. I'm not going to say right now whether or not I would expect you to put one right here. I'm not saying something that we're going to talk about in our finding and vision. We'll take that information back and begin to put together those recommendations. But yes, loop walks are very important.
There's statistics out there that show it can increase the use of a park by as much as 70% if you can start and come back to where you started. Because you're going to go and see what's there, and you're comfortable to go multiple times. After you've done it once, you're like, it's not enough exercise, so I want to do another one. Or if you have to walk from here to there, and you walk all the way there and you're tired, what do? Or if you walk all the way there and back and you're not tired,
You got to go again.
you know, where the loops, you know, it just makes more sense.
But it's important feedback like that we want to gather from this trip. You know, where should we put a loop walk in? Where should we look to put our next playground in? Those types of things are we're still gathering that information. So I don't know if I have any more slides. So any other questions on the mapping wall?
Okay?
Any questions from the audience?
Pardon me?
You go into trails later?
Yes. So,
Nobody else from the audience has a question? Please, go ahead, Tom.
okay. So, these are recurring themes that we've heard throughout the whole project. Everything from early on, focus group, stakeholder meetings, conversations with Tara and her staff, what we saw in the survey, what Dave saw and all that. So we're putting together a list of those, and that's going to help lead us to where we get recommendations. So, provide public access to water-based recreation opportunities. Whether you can provide them or not is a whole nother thing, but knowing that there's an interest for access. So we've actually started talking about how we might get there. Community events and activities that bring all ages together. Create a multi-purpose park and outdoor recreation area. Increase child care opportunities. More programs for adults without children at home. We saw that in the survey as well. More wayfinding and interpreted signage on trails and trail sites. You have, as Dave mentioned, I think you just mentioned, there's a lot of trails and trailheads and things. I'm not sure everybody knows where they are, where they go, how you get to them. Desire additional space to support recreation programming. Coordinate schedules in one place for easier reference planning, so that's kind of communication. Evaluate funding and revenue streams. So making sure that you're taking advantage of every funding opportunity that's out there, and then looking at your revenue streams, how are they being used, and all of that. We've talked to Tara a little bit about that already. Next slide, please. So the strengths of the existing recreation opportunities or the department, these are things to celebrate. Diverse year-round recreation programs that are affordable. You do a great job of realizing the climate and everything, and you've got stuff going year-round. You take advantage of that. Great trails for hiking, cross-country skiing, and snowmobiling. Lots of opportunities to enjoy the outdoors, natural landscapes in and around Barrington. Public recreation opportunities are tied to local quality of life. We've heard repeatedly people say that that's part of why they're living here. It's the quality of life, and it's the opportunity to do all these recreational activities. And again, town staff received very high praise. And again, something to be celebrated. Very, very preliminary recommendations, just things that we're beginning to start thinking about. Figuring out how to increase the diversity of programs for all ages. Explore change of hours of operations. Expand communication. Increase access to water, lakes. Add boat launches was a thought, but that may not be, what's gotta happen. Increase, expand trail access, improve awareness and identification of trails and trailheads, improve existing and seek new partnerships, increase usage of volunteers. So those are some of the preliminary things that we've been looking at. Is that the last slide besides the? So this is the question slide. So what questions do you have? What feedback do you have? Have we missed something? Is there something you'd like clarification on? Is there something we should go back and look at? Do we have a general sense of your community? And, like we haven't put up here that you need to, build this big community center, because that's not what we heard.
Yes, Tracy, please go to the board members first, please.
So my question is, at some point, we always have to take into account the amount of money available. And doing a needs assessment is certainly important, but continuing with the strategic plan, certainly within the constraints of what a budget might look like, seems very important to me, as opposed to an open-ended discussion. If it was open-ended, we'd build our own Olympic park, we'd have skiing in town, we'd do all sorts of things. So at what point do we begin to incorporate budgetary constraints in the process?
When we hear that we're headed in the right direction, then we start our draft report. And the draft report will have goals, objectives, and action plans, and timelines, priorities, and if there's a capital cost ranges, and staff ranges and things like that. So it's not going to be exact, because that's not what we were charged with doing, but if we're recommending, after we look at everything, that you need more programming and it involves another position, we'll make that recommendation. If we're making recommendations that you do things in different trails, there'll be some recommendation.
Dan?
I have two questions, one for you, one for Tara. There's gonna be a new parking lot at the bottom of the hill for the Goodwill, Rich and Bond. So once that gets in there, we'll draw more different people there. And then, Tara, do you talk to Ann Melvin about the trails? She's on the Trails Committee. Ann Melvin. She's like in charge of the Trails Committee, Conservation. She should be a good contact for you to talk with.
And just, it brings up a point. One thing that not everyone in your community knows who's in charge of what. So like, we heard that you need to make, that she needs to give access to the water. That might not be something that her department is capable of, but she might be able to partner. Same with, so it's also going to be educating the community what we heard, and then how the department can try to move forward to address those things.
Is there anybody in the audience that has a comment or question, please? Look, please.
Can you speak into a mic so that we can pick you up on the camera?
Oh, go up.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lee Elliott, and I just had a quick question. Thank you for the presentation, it was very good. I participated in one of the focus groups, and that was very exciting. Thank you, Tara. I was a little surprised, or I'm confused, when you showed the open link results along with the paper survey. Is there a way we can see both responses all together? I actually filled out the paper form, and I have children, and I'm very involved, and I feel like I'm grouped into the paper group, whereas I really feel like I'm more of an open link.
I can address that.
Okay, cool.
We had the same question asked by a few of the Recreation Commission members. The survey firm looks at all of that and have reported it the way they've reported it, because that's what they felt was best, but we can combine things. If you were an invitation survey, you were mailed one in your home. It could be that you had something to say and were a user. It could be that you just happened to pick it up in your mail. So yes, some of those people get linked in there, and that's why we use a professional survey company, and they look through all of that, and they can tell by all the way you answered questions and everything. The people that didn't get mailed a survey, that heard about this process, and then went online to take the survey, they probably had something to say, and they're open link. If you were an invitation survey person, and whether you filled out the paper survey or went online and used your code, you were still classified as an invitation survey. Okay? So, and ideally, we shoot for 300 invitation surveys. That's what makes, after you get 300 statistically valid, it doesn't usually change an awful lot. So you did a very good job with those, but you also did a very good job with the open link. And again, as that lady mentioned, had she not gotten an invitation survey, she may have been taking the open link survey.
Anybody else, please? Tara, do you have any other comments you'd like to make before? Well, I want to ask you that. Does anybody else from the Recreation Committee like to make a comment? Tom, I want to thank the three of you very much for the presentation. I look forward to my copy and something to review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Tara, and I want to thank you and the Recreation Commission. Wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
We're gonna go back to the office and continue.
Sure.
Want me to hang here? Or you want me-
If you don't mind hanging, we'll do that next.
Okay.
You mind just doing a brief thing with electricity while
Does
Doug
the
is
board
here?
object? Anybody object?
It was part of my report, but I'd like to do it now before Doug leaves.
Yeah, you're working with it.
Okay. In gathering information on energy, Access Energy, which Doug Langdon works for, owns some relationship, I'm not exactly sure about, went out and they went for 12 months, 17 months, 24 month, and 36 month, and they got quotes in from 3 different companies on each of those. Right now, we're paying 9.41 for PSNH, and the range for these rates was 7.7 cents up to 9.378 cents. So therefore, there's a new rate coming out in mid-December, I think Doug said. So I think the question becomes, do we want to, we need to make a decision before the end of December because of the contract expires with the reading in January. So I guess, Doug, do we know when in December the Public Utilities Commission is likely to give the next 6 months rate?
Not specifically. They file with the Public Utilities Commission what they call a preliminary filing, and they'll estimate what they think the costs are going to be for the February to July period, and so that'll go through a period where the PUC reviews it. It'll go through another period where Eversource/PSNH will continually ping the market, their upstream wholesale suppliers, to tighten up the rate, and then they'll go ahead and from there, and once they do that, then they'll come to a final determination of what the price is going to be for that February through July period, get the PUC's approval for that rate period. It'll be implemented. I've seen them implement it and finalize it the day before the new month starts, so it can go all the way up until that last day. But we get a pretty good indication of what's going on for that February to July period. I don't suspect there'll be much of a change. The current period, which is ending in January, is at 9.41 cents from the utility. And the way that the electricity markets work in the calendar months, it's a peak period in the wintertime and somewhat of a peak period in the summertime. So that period of February through July kind of straddles both expensive periods. So I don't see much of a huge change in the PSNH rate from 9.4 to something much different than that. So, but there's no way of knowing. We'll know more mid to late December.
We really can't wait until late December. We don't have a meeting the last 3 weeks of December, so.
Then that becomes typically what I see with municipalities is we get some general information to the board, and then the board kind of looks at it and they kind of say, all right, we're thinking of maybe doing a 12-month or a 17-month or a 24-month term based on varying factors of price and what the general sentiment of the contracting nature is of the board. And they say, hey, John, you're now authorized to go ahead and work on our behalf. That's what we essentially hired you for. So that's one way to approach it if there's no meeting. If the board wants to have a say a little closer to the time of contract execution, when's the next meeting in January then?
The 7th or 8th, whatever day of the week that is. It would be the,
First week, sounds
yeah,
like.
well, no, actually, it's 1 week in because the first is like on a Tuesday. Let me just pull up the calendar.
While you're doing that, the reason I say that is because, as John indicated earlier, your contract rate will start to expire on the various meter read dates of the electric accounts in town, of which there's a handful of them. So if you have a meter read date of the utility on January 3rd, for that account's rate will expire. It'll roll over to a month-to-month market-based rate.
Yeah, January 7th would be the first meeting of the select
All
board.
right. So if you waited till then, you would be at some risk of having some of your accounts roll off to a month-to-month earlier than the other accounts. So you could actually address it and then try to catch them all for a contract rate that would begin late January, maybe early February.
And the other option would be to authorize myself or you or the two of us together to select one of these based on, I mean, what is the best deal at the time in late December.
Well, anywhere between now and when you need to execute. So I wouldn't necessarily hem yourself into late December. You may want to do something in the beginning of December.
Yeah.
That is my own.
Once we know what PSNH is doing or
I see.
without
Well,
doing it.
That's the conservative way to play it, because if for some reason Eversource PSNH comes out with a rate of 6 cents per kilowatt hour, you don't want to find yourself in a contract for 7.8 cents. I don't think that's likely, but it's a good way to play it so that you make sure that you haven't made, or that you've made the most prudent decision possible with the information at the time.
Okay.
Board, do you have any comments, please? Dan?
How long of a contract can we go into?
I believe you can go at least 17 months because of the way you're entering it into and going into next year. But beyond that, I think you do have some question as to whether you can lock in 2-year or 3-year.
If we were like 17 months, will that put us in an odd season for a better rate?
What we found over the years is that the ending date of your contract isn't as important as when you're addressing a new contract. So if you're addressing a new contract like 2 or 3 months ago, you might find the pricing environment quite different than you find it today. And what I mean by that is right now we're expecting some very cold weather for Thanksgiving, like historically cold weather. And the natural gas markets have moved like 40% in one day. Now to put that in perspective, if you had, if most of us know oil, if you were looking at $60 per barrel oil today, and if it moved up to $86 all in one day, we'd all be aghast. It never happens. You might see a 3 or 4% change. Natural gas markets have been moving 40% of it now. So what I'm saying is the other danger that you have by waiting to mid-December is you can find that the weather influences prices, and natural gas prices heavily influence electricity prices. You can find yourself in a situation where prices have climbed up to here by mid to late December when you could have executed down here. But you will always still wonder what's Eversource's rate. So that's something that typically when we talk to clients, we're like, at some point in time, the utilities alternative rate is a lost benchmark, and what we try to focus on is year-over-year cost mitigation, cost reductions, or at least mitigating the increase in rates on a year-over-year type of basis.
What is our current rate that we're locked in at?
I didn't bring that, I wasn't really realizing I was going to stand on the microphone this evening, but I think it's in the 8-cent range.
Yeah. 8.5 or something?
Yeah, it was 8.5.
8.4.
8.4, thank you.
Good guess.
So, I mean, I would think that the board would authorize on either, on one of these terms for Doug to go out and to lock it in as, you know, at the next available, you know, to go out and to get the price and then to lock it in.
So one of the questions that sorry, Tracy.
Go ahead, Tracy, please.
So I'm looking at these rates, why wouldn't we lock in for the 36 months with the lowest?
Because we can't really.
I think there's a question of whether without a town meeting vote, we can lock in for 3 years.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's a 17 months a
So
year.
17 months is the maximum?
It depends.
Past the last select person on the board.
We've had a lot of different municipalities interpret that.
See what I'm getting at?
One of the big issues is the appropriations,
Mhm.
and utilities are always, pretty much always appropriated, either in a budget or a default budget, you always pay in your utilities.
Right.
So typically what you find is when you talk about contract length, it's for things that are, I won't say discretionary, but things that are may not get appropriated funds for in the future. Energy, oil, all those types of things you're gonna get appropriated. So it may be different communities in New Hampshire kind of actually interpret that reading a little bit different, take liberties as they so choose as a governing body. I'm not saying it's right one way or the other, but.
Yeah, and I really don't think there'd be any, you've got to do it, and it's going to be in your default budget, so really, if you go 24 or 36, I think it's defensible if that's what the board chooses to do.
When looking at the trend, this past summer, Eversource requested a rate hike, so I don't see the rates coming down.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Any other board comments, please?
I just want to understand this chart. If we went with the 36 months with direct energy business, am I to understand over the course of the 3 years, we would save $64,000?
No. So what that is.
You'd expend 64, but that would be less than what you would expend if you were at 9.41.
That's a term, over the 36 months, exactly.
So what are we actually saving over those 36 months with this contract?
Do you know what Eversource's rate's gonna be? Because if we're comparing it to the Eversource rate, we don't know what that is. If we're comparing it to your 8.5 cents that you have now, one could draw the conclusion that the difference between 8.5
We'd
cents.
save 1.2.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at then, are you telling me over the course of 36 months then that the impact is only $6,420?
No, it would, yeah, it would be, if in fact you're comparing 9.41 to 7.7, you're saving 1.7 per kilowatt times 764,000 kilowatts. So that's going to be something in the $11,000 range of savings.
If that rate stays steady.
The 9.4 you referenced is
Right.
Eversource rate.
If Eversource stays at 9.4,
Okay.
you'll save about 11,000.
Over the course of 3 years?
Yes.
Okay. So there's not a huge impact to whatever choice we make, as long as we make a choice that brings us in less than
Yes.
whatever. Okay, that's trying to understand it all.
This is not a major decision. You save some, and so certainly it's worth doing, but it's not like you're going to save 60,000. You're
Okay,
going to save like
so
3 or 4 a year.
So why
We're not
don't-
balancing the budget on
No, so we should lock in the 36 months at 7.7.
Dan, you have a comment?
So how much do we really save? Because Eversource charges a delivery fee.
We have to pay that regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a line item on your bill which says supplier services in the bottom, like page 2. And then on page 1, there's like 8 other line items. So all we're addressing is just the one line item of supplier services, and as we just went through the quick math, if Eversource is at 9.4 cents, and if you can get a price of 7.8 cents, you save 1.7 cents on that one line item. And the total effect over the whole bill, by the time you blend everything in with Eversource's charges, you may be saving 6%. That line item charge may be quite larger than that, maybe a 10% or 11% savings, but by the time you blend it in with your whole bill, the savings gets muted because you have other charges that you still gotta pay.
So is there a motion to authorize me to sign a 36-month contract and ask him to go out and get the best price he can and bring it in and we proceed with it?
I have another question first.
Wait,
My only other question I had was, is there any impact on us from a, like, energy incentive standpoint? Like, if Eversource or anybody's offering energy incentive, is it?
No, that's on that first bill that I talked about, the first page, there's 8 line items of charges. One of those is an energy efficiency charge that they collect from everybody.
Yep.
Everybody has equal access to it. It doesn't, irrespective of who you choose for your supplier, they don't care. They give you the access to that energy efficiency fund.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tan? Tracy, go ahead.
Are we paying a fee to have this contract written?
A
Small fee.
A small fee,
Yes.
like 3/10%, is it? That's,
Okay.
it's
Yes.
built into here.
It's built in.
Oh, it's already built
Yeah, it's
into what I'm
built in,
looking
yeah,
at.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Dan?
I'll make a motion for John to authorize with the consensus of the board to through email.
No,
Can't do it that way.
One.
You
you
can't.
cannot do it, you cannot do it in email.
Just being public.
And the problem with waiting for a meeting is usually these prices expire at the end of the day.
I was going to reiterate that the prices that we're looking at today are based on the day that we got those prices. And because of these market fluctuations that I mentioned, they will change. So we'll do a refresh. The position of the suppliers and pricing may change a little bit. It's very volatile. I would wait till after, unfortunately, till after the holiday.
Yep.
To give you some reasons why. Constellation Energy pulled all fixed prices today off the table that they were offering today. Direct Energy, as an example, they were the lowest bidder for Keene State College, which we're managing today as well. All of a sudden, they just pulled out completely because of the market volatility and their perception of their exposure to risk for a large account like that. So I think we need to get on the other side of this cold weather. December's expected to be kind of warm, normal warm. It's the same with the winter, if you believe the prognosticators as far as weather forecasters. So it's a volatile time. So I would hold off probably till after the Thanksgiving holiday for sure, and maybe even another week after that.
I want to remind the board members that this last contract, the vote was done in that particular manner, with a certain monthly fee, and then was given John the authority to find the lowest and the best, and that's why we ended up with this the last time. So it's just something else to consider.
So I would make a motion to allow John to wait until the time frame of the warmth that we expect to have take place and to make a decision to lock in up to a 36-month negotiated rate.
Do I have a second on that motion, please?
I'll second that motion.
I have a second already. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a vote. Bailey, aye.
Nap aye.
Hardikoff, aye.
Air aye.
5 carries, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, and I think that's a
Doug, thank you very much.
motion that up to 36 months is, I think, key, because if it's 28 months is the best deal,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Thank
If it's 35 and a half,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to hold you up from your other meeting.
Moving on, seeing as how we do not have any budget, next on the agenda is public comment.
Brian Lindsay.
I'm
with
sorry,
Landscape.
oh my goodness. Brian, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Kind of. My name is Brian Lindsay. I'm the chair for the Town Lands Committee. And we're just going to go over tonight a little project we did. We were requested to look at the property on Long Pond. And before we look at the handouts you have there, just to get a big view of what Long Shores or Long Pond is about. When you look at that thing, there's approximately 211 landowners in those two roads, Berry River Road and Long Shores Road, that goes on the north and south side of Long Pond. that was, I think, in the late 50s or very early 60s, before NHDES, New Hampshire Environmental, even existed.
Is your mic on?
Says it.
Push it. Put it up.
Can you hear me now? Sounds like it is.
Yeah, it's okay.
Rub this.
I'll talk loud enough. But somebody went in there, and the amazing thing is, when you look at this map, look at how they have all the lots, or 90% of the lots that they did half a century ago were quarter-acre lots, if you can believe it. And they were, if you look at the maps, and their standard lot was 50 by 200, 50-foot frontage on the river, and a lot of the lots aren't at the pond yet. They're on the river, on the very river on the way in. Downstream is the pond. All the lots were 50 by 200, rough plus or minus. Well, that's only a quarter of an acre. So the problems presented on that are strictly from even from a septic system or well point. It's damn hard now to get within compliances within where DES allows you to put a well or a septic system. And that's, I'm a permitted septic system designer, but the thing about septic systems, you can put within 10 feet of your property line, provided that you're not within 75 feet of a well on another lot. So first come, first serve. You get a well on your lot, then the next guy that comes in on an adjacent lot, he has to work with the fact that you put a well in that has a 75-foot safe radius on it. Now the owner on that adjacent lot can say, he can write off and say, I'm going to accept the fact that you're putting a septic system closer than 75 feet, but I can't go after you, and I recognize that there's a danger in being within 75 feet of a septic system. But all I'm trying to say is it's damn tough to build a house on one of those quarter-acre lots, especially if there are people already, domiciles already on the adjacent lots. So when we get through here and you look at what we took on our notes, it's really a question of, is it feasible that somebody could build on that lot, which would obviously affect the value of that lot. So we were surprised when we looked at the assessment on some of these lots. Some of them, you better have your boots on to go anywhere on that lot. It's underwater, but yet it's assessed at $33,000. Some of it doesn't make sense. But anyway, that said, we can look at, we're going to start with map 101 and go through with what we looked at on the lots and what we think. The other thing that I guess I don't fully understand, RSA 80 talks about having auctions or sealed bids for if the town wants to get rid of, if the municipality wants to get rid of property that they own through taxes that weren't paid. The thing is with RS 80 now, it also says that you can have, I got the wording in here, but you can also go with, now they changed the RSA this year, or there was what do I call it? Anyway, they updated the law that says that realtors can get involved. You can work with realtors to sell off these lots, or you can work the other route here, and I think it's important on this one, is that you're allowed to talk to adjacent people. There's a justification to talking to the adjacent landowners. So we have that on the thing where we think that it would be reasonable within the requirements of the RSA to first consider the likelihood of the adjacent property owners wanting to take that lot that's adjacent to them. Also present here is Melissa, who is the secretary of the Landowners Association up there, and she was a big help with getting us. She knows a lot of the people that are up there. She's the secretary of the association, and was very helpful in giving us some information on where these lots were and some of the history that goes with them. Starting with, you can see on if you can read my printing, on what, and the other people who were up there and evaluated were myself, A.J. Duperre and Phil Booty, and Melissa actually went with us. Melissa Lasad here actually went with us on while we were looking at them, because she she could even spot some property pins that we didn't know where they were. The first one, if you look at map 101, that lot 18, and on my notes there, I say that that's only 0.21 acres, and that's standard on the lots that weren't added to. The other thing, if you look on these maps here, you'll see there's a lot of lots on here. When they initially did this, I say there's 200 landowners in there now. When this was done, there was well over 400 lots on the thing, because look at the number of lots where to have a decent lot, you better have 2 or 3 of the initial quarter-acre lots joined together. And you can see that as you look down there on those roads, where you can see where a lot of the lots that are occupied now are actually 3 or 4, what were 3 or 4 formerly, that now are into one lot. And that really preferably would be continued, because it's just too tough to jam them in on a quarter-acre lot. That first one, on map 101, lot 18 now, is 0.21 acres. That's really extremely, when we drove up to that one, you had to be careful when you got out of the car and started headed westerly. If you ever fell down that bank, you'd roll halfway to the river, because it's, I'd estimate it's at least a 22% grade. There's no way you could have access. The whole frontage of the lot on the road has that steep embankment to it, so there's no way, and it's not even, the embankment starts right at the edge of the road, so there's no way you're going to be able to get a motorized vehicle onto that lot. You'd have to have a right-of-way through somebody else's property or something. So from that aspect, I don't see any way, without any access, how you could ever build on it. Some of the options are, the owner of lot 7, you can see the acreage. He has a big 12.7 acre lot there. That's a nice house and outbuilding he has there. He may be interested in having some access to the river. He could put a trail down through there, because lot 13.1 is actually owned by the association. That, and they'd let people access the river from that. That would be one option. Like I said, 13.1 is owned by the association, so they do it. So that would be the first option on that one. But secondly, you could go could go to the adjacent landowners on either side and see if they're interested in that lot. It's not, the bottom line is, though, that lot isn't worth a lot of money because of its topographically, it's one hell of a steep lot.
Well, I would think what we could do is, what we often do, is offer it only to the abutters.
Yeah, because down the road, I can't imagine that if somebody's crazy enough to get it, buy it for $400 or whatever, there's no way, I don't see, all he can do is turn around and try to sell it himself to an adjacent landowner. But I agree with what John just said. It would make sense. Okay, that's the only one on map 101. We're going to just go through Berry River first here. 102, 53 and 53.2. You can see them up there in the center of the map, up towards the top. Those two lots are both side by side, are owned by the town. The thing is, there's one where you better have more than boots. I think you need waders on, because those lots, there is absolutely no way you could build on those lots. They're wetland, both of them. But the important thing to note there is if you look on lot 54, that's a year-round, right, Melissa? That's year-round on Lavoisier's.
That's correct.
That lot 54, Lavoisier there, you can see his house on the map. He may be encroaching on lot 53.1 if it goes right by the corner of his house, but he even has some stuff on the town's lot now, minor things, some piles of wood and stuff like that. But so it looks to us like he'd be a good, it'd make a good try to see if he'd be interested in taking those lots over. But I don't, they're of no value to anybody else. And that's why it says that.
Brian, what about the one down in the after that there, 53.3?
Yeah, because we don't own it, but I wouldn't be surprised. It was wet as hell on 53.2. I think some of that 53.3 is definitely, but
I was only bringing that up as an abutter.
yes, I mean, you may, if I were doing it, I'd see if if the owner of 54 wants, he could buy 53-1 or get 53-1, and 53-3 could take 53-2. The thing is, like I said, either way, the town isn't gonna, I don't see how you get any money out of it. You just wanna get, however you can get rid of those two lots. But yeah, that would be an option too, but I think 53-3 is pretty wet also. Then the next one is 51 there, same thing. That lot is, I got it marked as 80% wetlands, but it would, there's no place you can get a building on that lot. Well, see, and I got right there too, it looks, that's wet all the way from 53-1 down to 51. I don't know if you'd ever see anybody build anything in that area, it's that wet.
Should we perhaps give it all to conservation, the wet stuff?
But what, for what? Why?
Just to protect the wetlands.
Well, they're gonna be protected anyway because the NHDES, there's all kinds of requirements on wetland lots. You actually got buffers and everything else. So I just don't see that there'd be a possibility of liability. I don't think conservation would want it, to tell you the truth.
So,
I mean, they're always gonna be wetlands, whether the conservation owns them or.
So sell 53-1 to 54, 52 could go to either 54 or 53-3, sell 51 to one of the abutters, either 52 or 50, sell, basically, if we go down through here and basically sell to abutters with the exception of something like 53-1 where it's an issue with, certainly they don't meet the setbacks.
Yeah, he does, but see, I mean, they're grandfathered in there as far as.
Right, but they couldn't do any work on the property.
No, there's no way.
Basically advertise them, these are for abutters, and then for 53-1, the only one we'd be willing to sell it to is 54, see if he'll buy it.
Right.
That's a lot of good work on that, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really is.
And what about 68?
Okay, well, let me go down here on the sheet here that they have in front of them here. The next one is, so we talked about 51, 19.
Oh.
Look at 19, it's in the middle, the lower one in the center of the map. That's 0.42 acres. That lot, Dan, give your arm a rest, Will.
I got a question.
Let him finish first.
Well, this has to do with this comment here.
Okay, well, we can back up to it. Lot 19, if you look, the right adjacent to lot 19 is there's a house tight to the line on the east side of lot 19, and again it's closer than it looks, but lot 21 is occupied too. The interesting thing on that's a pretty lot 19 is, but there's a stream, a brook or a stream, whatever you want to call it, that I'm sure it doesn't run 365 days a year, but the surface runoff uses that, and when we were there was a lot of GPMs flowing right down through the middle of that lot. It's literally in the middle of that lot flowing down, and then it's taken under the road and goes down to the river. But so there's no way you could have, and in addition to that, there are a couple of boulders right tight to the brook there that are half as big as this room. It's flat, but it's got water running through the middle of it, and it's got huge boulders on it. To me, what makes sense is to split that right down the middle and say the stream is the boundary, and hopefully you can get 16 and 21 to buy the adjacent owners to buy the property on that one.
You better just
I
sell
think
this
that
one
runs
piece.
into a planning board subdivision problem.
It's just a lot line adjustments are extremely inexpensive compared to.
But then does it become a title issue if there's because this is gonna, all of these tax deeds have clouded
Some of
titles.
them had issues in the past because of the way they were taken, because the lots were taken for past taxes, they don't want the warranty deed. So they interfered with them when they went to sell it.
So once they combine it, then it pollutes their title as well. So that's why people weren't combining We stopped forcing them to combine for that reason, because of the title issues.
We had them combined, and then it would come out that it was not.
Marcia, we'll have to have you come to the mic next time. Thank you. Dan, you got something? Go ahead.
On there,
On where?
on 51, you recommend the Long Shores Association for road drainage runoff. One thing about these lots that are useless, you can put rain gardens to treat the road water going into the wetlands, and it'll save the environment. And then with them lots, doing work on the roads, turnarounds, pull-outs for the fire department, that can be used for more benefit for the road than a lot.
Yeah,
Environmentally.
no, you're right, Dan, that is the one that we discussed out there too, and Melissa can talk about it. That would make sense to give, or to, at a very low price, give lot 50, it's a worthless lot. The association expressed some interest in that, like Dan said, there is, that's a low point in the thing, and they have to get water off the road there. That's another real, the road is an expensive part of their operation down there, and so that is at a low point where you get road runoff and everything else. That would be a good option, is to let the association have that lot if they're interested in it.
Tracy, you have a question?
So, John, if I understood what you just said, there's a lot of work that the Town Lands Committee went through in reference to this. However, adding any of these properties to adjacent properties has an impact.
Could impact their title
In a
and make it
negative manner.
difficult for them to get a clean title for the next sale they make.
If they merge it.
It wouldn't have to be merged though.
No, but this one here would have to be if you're doing it as a lot line adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay, so lot line adjustments cannot take place, or it has a negative impact on the landowner.
Could potentially have.
Could potentially. So the other options are what?
Sell them without.
Sell it to either, whichever
side.
buyer buys it.
this
And it
big
might
lot.
be 18 or 17 in the back wants to buy it for a road out.
Okay. So,
Well, yeah, except, see, it's the same thing again though, DES has things on, that stream that I'm talking about, that has a buffer associated with it now. I mean, it's not, so if you're gonna put, if he has access out there, he wants to put a driveway in there, and there's a 50-foot setback to wetlands in that stream,
That's a lot
and
of
I'm not
record
sure it
P
is.
setbacks.
What's
This
that?
would-
That's
this
a
does
lot of
not-
record P setbacks, they can go up to the edge of the wetlands as long as they comply with DES regulations.
This does not have a town setback. 19.
Because of the date of the lot.
No, okay, yeah.
Tracy, please?
I guess to get to the point, are any of these buildable lots?
Oh, yeah. We're
Okay.
gonna find, as we come on, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think that you've done a nice job recording all of the details in reference to them. Is the town land's recommendation that what is not buildable is somehow, sold for dollar or gifted to the adjacent properties?
Well, that's not up to, that's up to the select board to say
Okay,
what the price, I mean, what's realistic,
and then what is buildable would then be offered to the adjacent properties at an appropriate market
it doesn't
rate?
have to be, but see, it's not just whether it's buildable or not. Like we said back on what, 53-1 and 53-2, those aren't buildable lots. That makes them worthless from the standpoint of having, for their assessment, but there is some value to lot 54, where he's right, that line's right by his house, so it,
Sure. And how do you suggest that the evaluation of the value of the non-buildable lot, but a lot that would add value to an adjacent property, be measured?
well, because he can put his wood piles on it now, I mean, if somebody wanted to.
No, I understand why, I'm saying, how do you suggest that it be measured?
I don't know, I'm not an assessor.
Okay,
I'm just saying, common sense would say if, for a bunch of things, and I mean, like I said, it's septic systems, you're right, these are grandfathered lots, but DES, and you can go closer than the 75-foot thing with, there's ways around that, with wells and septic systems, but I'm just saying on a quarter of an acre lot, I can't imagine that, there's people that take little camping trailers there and live there for 4 months or 6 months out of the thing and head back to Florida and stuff. Can you do that? Yeah, but then the concern is what are they doing for their septic system?
Yeah, where's the black
And
water
they have
going?
community
Sure.
water in there for a while and stuff, so I mean, we really don't,
Okay.
the less congested this thing becomes, and they're doing a pretty good job now, I think, trying to prevent that is, the right way to go is make bigger lots out of the little ones, which as you can see has already been done there.
Where does that leave us, John? Should we be
Well,
like
I
making a
think-
recommendation that
Well-
we, what?
What I have so far is that 18 should be sold, limited to abutters, 53-1 should be sold, limited to 54, 53-2 should be sold, limited to abutters, 19 should be transferred to the road association, no, 51 should be transferred to the road association, 19 should be sold to abutters. That's what I'm hearing so far, and we sell it by seal bid, and whatever we get is what we get. It might be $100, might be $300, depends if 2 neighbors want it, we get a better price than if only 1 wants it.
Yeah, and I'll make a comment on that when we get to better lots that are worth.
Oh, yeah,
that are
I'm
worth
just saying.
more money.
these
Yes,
by
I
specific-
agree with you on those. What
Mr.
you-
Chairman?
yeah.
Just a minute. Okay, you all set? What do you have, Dan?
The board has to realize, this is a liability, these lots to the town. If we give it to the conservation, it's still a liability to the town.
You already said that.
No, but we
No, but-
we need to understand that.
Yeah, I understand it, I don't have a problem with it, I don't need to be schooled,
All right?
thank you.
So we got 2 more on this map that we haven't talked about yet, Brian.
Well, oh,
68
yes,
and 45.
yep, 45, that lot, again, it would be extremely difficult to build on now. We looked where there's a drilled well on lot 43, that's fairly close to there, if you go to the northeast a little bit, is in there, so there's a 75-foot thing on that. You got a problem getting a septic system in on the lot, plus, again, there's a well and a septic system on lot 46, so I call that an unbuildable lot. Now, maybe there's a miracle way you can do it, but, and the whole lower third of the lot, as you go towards the river, is wet. So I think the right thing to do there is, the problem is, on lot 46, there's some issues with what's going on that lot now, and there's a lot of junk, I guess, on the lot. And they've got some problems in there with compliance with certain things. So, but lot 43 is a log house that's in pretty good shape and everything, well maintained and everything else. I would go to 43 first to ask for, if we were looking at adjacent owners.
Yep.
45 would go good with 43, it would give them a buffer to looking at what's at 46.
Okay.
All right.
And 68?
Yeah, 68.
On the second page, narrow, not a buildable lot, fence, junkyard.
That's off Long Shore.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Oh, that's on the other side,
yeah.
but it's on this map.
Yeah, but it is on the map, we'll go back to the, well, we can do it now then, flip to the second page.
Please.
And
It's junky.
when you look at it, and I've gone through some of the things there, but it's an extremely narrow lot. I don't see how it's buildable, wedged in there. And there is, it doesn't show it, but there's a, on the left, on the top of that lot, on lot 67, the guy has a junkyard in there with a fence in for various reasons. He was required to put a fence up. The fence has already fallen down a little bit on that lot 68, and it's, again, that one there would be the lot owner on 69. You can see how close his house is. That would make a good addition to his lot if 69 picked up 68.
Okay, so 68 only offered to 69, 45 only to 43, so we've got some only to one abutters and some to any abutter so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
so I shoot myself for this, but how can we, how, legitly, how could we be so selective as to who we are willing to offer it to and who we aren't? for a neighbor. If we're gonna offer it to a butter, then we have to offer it to both of owners.
I think you're allowed to sell as justice may demand. I think that's, justice may require is the phrase that I think you were getting at.
Yeah, that's
earlier
right,
on.
that's the phrase in RSA 80.
So, and I think in that case, if they have a junkyard, you have a valid reason. If they have a need because of a septic or well or something like some of these others, like this guy, that the property is so close, I think you have a valid reason to offer it to just one. You don't have to tell him that, you don't have to advertise that he's the only one that you offer it to, but.
It just comes off
Send
as
out
a
a
bit
letter.
deceitful.
But I think there's no way you want to give that one to somebody who's gonna expand a junkyard. There's not a way that, I mean,
I
that's,
think that junkyard you're talking about is the one that moved from down toward the end of Barry River Road. They told him to get rid of it, so he did. He moved it up the road.
That just sounds like a different problem that we're not addressing.
No, but that's,
well, see, he's allowed a fence, you know, I don't know.
If the vehicle's more than 20 years old and he fences them, keeps them out of sight from the public, he's allowed to have them by state law. I don't know which one you're talking about,
Yeah.
because everything's falling down.
Let me remind everybody, we're here to discuss these pieces of property, please, and let's stay with this first, and we can probably do that another time.
I think I'm staying with the property.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're on to the next map.
103, yeah.
What's the top about you? That's-
All right, lot 103, I'm sorry, 103 lot 4 is way down in the lower right-hand corner. Steep on the backside, but okay on the road end, adjacent, oh, okay. That lot there could be a buildable lot, possibly, it'd be tight, but it's adjacent to the, if you look at lot 3, the one to the east, immediately to the east at 0.25 acres, that was their former meeting, the association had their meetings in clubhouse. Yeah, clubhouse or whatever. It's in bad shape. Melissa, there's an intention to demolish that sometime in the future.
When we have the money,
What's that?
when we have the funds to do so.
But, so it's adjacent to the landowner's property is lot 3. Again, I go to the adjacent abutters, both of them, and see what they'd like to do with, if they're interested in purchasing a lot. The other thing that, where there may be some value to this lot, by itself, and if you could jam something on it, is the other, if you look on there, 8 and 9 are both in the town's, both town lots. In, I think they took a CH-47 helicopter and landed a trailer in there because on, and I forget if it's on lot 8 and 9.
It's on
It was on
9.
lot 8,
Yeah, 9, I think.
Yeah.
The camper.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on 9.
How they got it down there, I don't know, because it's pretty steep getting in there, but that's, the town owns that now, and we gotta get rid of it somehow, sometime, or sell it with a camp.
Sell it with a camper on it.
Yeah. Yeah, ready to move into. Again, I got a question mark, I don't know if that's a buildable lot or not, it's questionable, but,
Would the two together be buildable between them?
well, no, that's, you definitely need the two of them, but even with the two of them together, as you can see, there's they were doing some work, and we saw the well on that lot 7 is pretty close to the line. And their septic system is out in front, so, again, you know, you looked at lot 10, that only has a 47.5 foot frontage, and that, the house on lot 11 is right on the property line, so again, you've got those 75 foot well criteria for, I don't, possibly you get a lot on it, with 8 and 9 combined, you might be able to build on it, I think it'd be damn tough, but.
So is your recommendation that we sell 8 and, we sell 4, 8, and 9 to the abutters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving up to 86.
We're changing pages now?
Well, here, let's go to the second page again and see where 103.52. These two right here, 52 and 49, are the ones where I think there's some value there, but the value goes with the situation on the adjacent lots. But here's what I'm saying. And look at lot 55. A guy named Mike McLean's in there. Look at what he bought. It looks like 2 or 3 lots to begin with, where his house is, and he's got a very nice house right there. It's a log cabin style, and you see he's got a big, you get a big working thing on the back. And look at how big his lot goes out back there. That's all part of his lot 55. Where, you know, he's got, I don't know, 20 acres there, 15 acres, whatever. Well, this isn't that big, 10 acres. He also owns lot 54, and he owns lot 53. So his land is adjacent to 52. Would he be interested in 52? But here's the thing, if lot 51 is not built on, and the owner of that lot may be interested in selling it. Don't ask me how I know that, but so if 52 is buildable on the, I think it is. It looks like it's buildable. If somebody knew that, if the town wanted to make some money off it, it would find out if the owner of lot 51 is interested in selling his lot, then you know that increases, if 51 and 52 are combined, is definitely a pretty nice buildable lot. Do we just, I mean, I don't know if you go talk to McLean and see what he thinks, if he's interested in buying it. McLean could buy it and then turn around and talk to the owner of 51 and buy it, and then he turns around and sells the thing for $40,000. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
If I may, just on that lot, so provoked or unprovoked, I don't know if Mr. McNeil knew that the town was looking at these lots, but he did call the town hall last week, the owner of these lots, and was expressed interest in purchasing lot 52. And I notified the lands committee just in their research, so he did express interest to the town in purchasing.
51 or 55 is owner?
52.
52.
55
is
We
the owner.
own 52.
The owner of 55.
54, 55.
Stop, please. I'm asking who called?
Right, the owner of 53, 4, and 5.
55, thank you.
And 53 and 54.
I got you.
So I would think we sell that to the abutters.
Yeah, I guess the question is, how much is, that lot, to me, that lot is far more valuable than the lots we've been talking about before. These little quarter-acre lots, I wouldn't pay a penny for them, but unless I was an adjacent landowner. This lot 52, it's not great in itself. It's still only half an acre, and you got to be very careful. I think you could fit a septic system in a well on it, and again, it's beat the other guy to the thing. You can put a septic system within 10 feet of your property line. So you go on lot 52, shove your septic tank over against 51's close to the 51 property line. You do it before 51 gets, the owner of 51 gets to do it. Tough luck. You beat them to it. So I'm just saying, lot 52 in my mind has some value, and it depends on how what you do with the adjacent landowners and everything else to put the value into that lot. And it's for you folks to decide how you want to handle that one. And it's the same thing with 49. That lot, if you could combine, and you see where 50 is a combined lot of 2 now, if you're a guy that has a little money and like it down there along the river and everything, you could put, just like McLean already did with lot 55 and what he got, you could put, if 51, we think that maybe the owner of 51 does want to sell his lot, would be willing to sell it if he got the right price for it. 51 and 52 combined would definitely make a buildable lot. And it's the same thing with there's no houses yet up on those lots. So if you could buy an adjacent lot, somebody that was into realty and knew what he was doing would buy that lot and then go ahead and buy the one beside it. Now, all of a sudden, he's taking what might be a half-acre lot or something, turn it into a 3/4 acre lot, and those are fairly flat. It's decent, it's decent along through there. To me, you've got a $25,000 lot versus something that was worthless before it was enlarged.
And these are not on the water.
And really, I shouldn't be giving prices here, because I don't know, but I mean, I know when a 2-acre lot here in town is selling for $80,000, and 1-acre lots are selling for $60,000. In the community here, there's some problems with, you're on a rough and tough road and everything else, but still, they gotta have some value.
So I think what you're saying is 52 and 59, we try to market as 49, we try to market as lots that we want a better price for, and anyone can bid on them. It's not limited to
Yes.
others.
Yes.
It's a great assessment.
Well,
We spent a lot of time on this.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, we're not done now.
now we still got 104.
One more.
Where's 104 on this list?
We got one more,
Next page,
104.
it's on the front page, but it's the last map.
We tore down Berry River Road first, and then we went back, we went up on the Long Shore side, so that's why the second page is just what we found on the Long Shore side. The first page is everything on the Berry River Road.
So,
It's at the very bottom.
now, they look like you have some circled here that are town of Barrington, but you've written names by them.
Yeah,
They're sold
well,
off.
We had to make some shit, we had to,
These
that
things-
kind of thing completely, yeah.
These
These
have already
maps-
been sold.
Yeah,
we gotta go, I gotta sit down with Suzanne and do it one more time, but there's some of these that are marked at the town of Barrington, they're not on town of Barrington, and what is it, CAI, they made a mistake on, if you look at 121, they were off once, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
68, not 69.
there's a few mistakes on CAI's map, and Suzanne's aware of it, and is telling them that, hey, you got the town-owned circle in the wrong, they jumped over one stuff, so there's a few more lots up there that really we gotta look at too, but right now, these are the ones that we worked on.
So 86, you're saying, is what?
86 is owned by the town,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't show it on the map.
And it's buildable or not?
I think it'd be, it's very steep, I don't think it's buildable.
Okay, so sell that to a butters?
Or across the street.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah, one
Amber
across the
across the
street's
street
the
wanted
abutters, yeah.
access to the water, so.
Yeah, that's why,
Well, most of these for a butters would be allow across the water, with the exception of the two that
Yeah,
we want to have go to a particular
I mean, it
individual.
does hold some value that they have a right of way to the water, so.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to keep that in mind. And John, would you be sending someone out from a real estate assessment perspective on the ones that
No, I
would
think
not?
we would see whatever we get for bids, and the only ones we might look more seriously at would be whatever the bids on 52 and 49 where we might reject them if they're too low. I would basically say you accept any of the abutters only bids, but 52 and 49 you would actually want to hold out to get a better price for. Does that sound right, Brian?
yeah, I'd say so. I guess I don't understand what John and you were saying as far as, and I don't know enough about the deed part you're talking about, but see, it would be, the best thing would be for lots 85 and 87 is to split that lot 86, again with a lot line adjustment, but you're saying that it's the,
It could cause title problems for either of the two lots, and you might actually have 9 across the street that wanted to buy it for access to the water.
yeah, I understand that, but why? It doesn't matter, I mean, you know what you're saying, but I don't understand why there's title problems with,
If our
tax
deed was,
deeds.
if our tax deed was not, some of our tax deeds do not transfer into you can't get a warranty deed on
okay,
them.
okay, I see, because it wasn't checked as far as that the guy even own the land to begin with. The guy that's paying taxes on it might not have even legally owned it to begin with.
Yes. There could have been problems with the taking that occasionally, that go back
Right.
20
Right.
years or
Yeah.
something, and it's a little hard to clear the title on some of those, and once they combine it with their existing lot, then their warranty deed, they may not get next time around.
Yeah. All right.
So, I'm guessing that we're offering 53-1 to 54, 51 to the association, 45 to 43, everything else to the butters except 52 and 49 on 103, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Is that the motion?
You asking for a motion now?
Yes.
Dan, you have a comment? We got one more comment. Go through.
Yes, to answer your question, I hired a lawyer, you go back, and for 20, 30 years, you clean everything up. And it can get expensive, and it takes a lot of time on the tax deed.
Before I go vote on a motion, I gotta remember what my valuable lots are, the numbers are in there.
The valuable lots are on
These 10 lots.
8, 9,
103.
Wait a minute.
103, 52, and 49. And that's the only valuable two. But lot 102, 51, we would sell to the road association, and 53-1 would be offered to only 54. And 68 would only be, 68 would only be offered to 69.
It looked like map 3, 8, and 9 could be combined together to become a buildable lot, so we need to keep that in mind as
Which-
well.
Oh, 8 and 9.
John,
Yeah,
So, yeah, so I've
Notes, you
circled
guys wrote
8,
there,
9,
about
86, 52, and 49 as holding some value, and the rest does not.
Yeah, the thing is, though, 8 and 9,
Did I read it wrong?
8 and 9 do have some value, and I think possibly could be built on, but they're not, and you'd have to look at them. That's awfully steep on 8 and 9, so to me,
68, sold 269.
it's not, I'd say it's half the value, if that, of lots 52
But
and
it's
49.
adjacent to the water is my point, so if somebody wanted to put a 3-season property on there, it holds value to them to have access to water.
Yeah.
So that's why I circled that one. So 8 and 9 has access to water, 86, 49, and 52 would be, I think, John, the important part with that, of those four, would be setting a value to those four.
Okay, 103, 8 and 9, and 10, and 52 and 49.
52, 49, 86, 8, and 9.
Where's 86?
On 104.
104.
86 and 104.
gonna be a butter.
Right, so the person across the street would gain access or right of way to the water, so it holds value.
But why don't we sell that just to the abutter?
Right, what's the numbers coming at?
My point is that it holds value because it's adjacent to water.
Right.
As opposed to the lots that are not adjacent to water and are steep and are wetlands and so on and so forth.
Do you
So
want me to have the assessor look at those 5 lots for a value for sale?
yes,
Did we have 4 in there? 103?
No, 4 we said was to the, that's the one next to the clubhouse.
Right.
no, that's going to abutters.
The clubhouse one is 10250.
Right.
No, that's the runoff. That's the
No,
one
no,
that's
No,
the
but the
road.
clubhouse is here at the end, here.
This is,
1034,
Chairman?
was next to the clubhouse,
and 1033 was the
Mr. Chairman?
clubhouse.
but I believe that there was nothing wrong with that lot.
No, lot 4,
Yeah.
it's possible you could put to me, you'd have to really do some more detailing, because again, though, you've got, where the meeting hall is, they've already got, I don't know if you have a septic system on that thing, but they have a well on that lot, so again, it's a lot easier when the adjacent lot to what we're trying to see if it has value or not, whether there's somebody there or not makes a big difference on whether you're gonna be able to put a well or a septic system in, so it's, size-wise, it's not bad. It's better than a lot of the other lots, but you're still crowded in on both sides of that one. So it doesn't, that's the beauty of 50, the two ones that I'm thinking are worse than
49
mine.
and 52.
There's nobody beside them, they're on their own, so you got some opportunity there. These other ones are wedged.
You had first opportunity to use it.
Right.
George?
Yes, ma'am.
Melissa.
Melissa,
Yes.
you got your hand up?
May I say a couple things?
Can you please come to the microphone?
Yes. Before you guys vote on it, I'd just like to mention a couple things, if you don't mind, from the association's point of view. I think the land use committee has done a very good job of figuring out which might be the right abutter to offer some of these properties to. I understand your concern about there may be some.
It's playing favorites.
Right. On the other hand, if you looked at some of these places and you say, wow, I do not want that mess to continue all the way over to there, I think if you saw some of these properties, you would understand why they're picking one over the other. The other thing that I would like to say is there are some of these lots that they're recommending to one lot owner or the other. For example, the one that abuts our rec hall, the association would have a use for that lot because we intend to either improve that building or to tear it down, whereas the abutter, he has a bunch of scrap metal in his driveway, he doesn't pay his association dues, he's probably gonna let it go to pot, whereas the association would either keep it as green space or make some kind of improvement on it or be able to use it in conjunction with our lot to sell later. So that is one consideration when we're talking about lot 4 beside the rec hall that I would like you to consider. Also about that lot 4, I think there's an opportunity to combine it, make 4, 8, and 9 potentially one lot. So 4 being the one beside the rec hall, and then the 8 and 9 you were talking about across the water. You know, if you had someone such as myself, who is a person that invests in real estate, would have the means to say, okay, we're not going to put a house down there on the water, let's put it on the opposite side and put some kind of just a deck or something down there, a way to get access to the water, make an improvement to it, as opposed to just offering it maybe to abutters. So I think there are times like that when just offering the lots to the abutters is not necessarily in the best interest of the town. The same thing would be the case for the property on Longshore Drive that abuts Mike McNeil's property. I think it was, you guys were talking about maybe getting an assessed lot, I think that was 52. The thing about that lot is Mike McNeil is going to use it as green space, which is great, but there might be other people who are not abutters that would be willing to buy that property, make an improvement on it, put a house on it. That would be tax revenue for the town, whereas, you know, him making his lot just a little bit bigger would be less tax revenue for the town. So I think if you're going to get rid of these properties for a low price, also think about, are you offering it up to people that might be willing to make improvements on it for revenue for the town, not just give it to people who, you know, for a small amount of money that aren't going to get revenue from it.
Tracy, go ahead.
So,
Based on what you just said, it makes more sense to just put these out to sealed bid and not address the abutters. We don't have a right to decide how people use their land as long as it's within code. And so, while I don't disagree with you, it would be very nice, especially living in a neighborhood with tight lots like this, to be able to choose the better of the two land users. That's really not an appropriate way to approach this. I think that the decision should be made to put them all out to sealed bid.
See, I think improving the neighborhood is a valid civic purpose, and the Board of Selectmen should consider that over the minor amount of revenue you're going to get selling them.
John,
Let me ask you a question, please. Have you ever decided to take legal action against any of these people that have a lot that's does not conform with the rules and regulations as far as having it as a unsightly lot?
we have not. We have made some complaints to the town, and the town has been helpful in helping us clean up some of them. We have a very small number of board of director volunteers that are willing to do a very vast amount of work. So those of us that are trying to choose our battles and pick the worst ones first.
But we have a long list of properties that we would like to see cleaned up, hopefully with the town's help.
Now, you can have John, you want to address that?
I'll address multiple things that was brought up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the town has been helpful in the past, we have so many things to do that it's
Yeah, okay.
one at a time.
No, I was just curious about the property because I have also worked with John on some issues of that in my own personal one. I was thinking of the board, that's why I asked you to put forward with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that was all I wanted to mention, thank you.
John, you had a few issues. I'd like to move this on quicker.
Okay, as far as offering them to the butters, if you don't require them to be merged, the odds are they will be built on. I get many from out there that are lots that you would never think would be built on. They get waivers from DES on the locations of their wells and septics on a regular basis for those out there. As long as they can make that fit and they can meet setbacks or they get a variance from setbacks, that's what happens to a lot of them lots out there. I understand that bit with the deed problems, and some of them do have deed problems. If the town owns abutting properties, the town can merge them, and they would still be giving them the same type of deed with those merged. So if the town, most of these lots, the reason why the town got them for back taxes was they had no value to begin with. They couldn't do anything with them. That's the majority, not all of them. But I've seen a lot of creative people do a lot of creative things in the past, and that's gonna go on. If they're not merged, they can still, no matter, it could be their butter, and it might be 5 years from now, it might be 10 years from now, they're gonna still come in and use it as an individual lot. That's reality. Especially if the dollar amounts go up. Out there, the association has done a real good job. I've worked with them for a few years. We've had to take quite a few to court. We've cleaned a lot of things up. And the ones that we're dealing with now were the ones that didn't look bad because the other ones were so bad. So as you're getting rid of the worst ones, the ones that are left now were the ones that weren't an issue a few years ago. And that's why we slowly and progressively been worked along with them. There's a few people I had to take to court more than once to get it cleaned up. And then I've worked with the people, so people realize now that I work with them, I'll try to help them come into compliance. It's kind of like the officer-friendly thing, to go out and scream and holler if they don't know what they did wrong, they don't know what to fix. But I just wanted to make sure you understood that giving them to the abutters doesn't necessarily mean the abutter is gonna, if it's not merged, it's still a separate lot of record, it's still gonna be a separate lot of record, and always going to be a separate lot of record.
You do have the ability to make them
Unbuildable.
non-buildable
Right.
when you give them the...
Well,
For
that's.
example,
that's the key.
yes, you can put it on a condition as long as you do it right. We didn't do it right several years ago.
Well, the way the whole thing is set up now in the town of Barrington, if you can get a septic and a well in, and you can meet the setbacks, or you get zoning relief, I have to give you a building
No,
permit.
but you could put a covenant on there that it can't be built upon.
Put it on the deed.
On the
But I
deed.
cannot- But I
Then
cannot
you
enforce
can't
the
do it.
covenant. I cannot enforce the covenant. I can only enforce the building and zoning codes. So
So,
what
but the town
happens?
could enforce the
The
covenant.
town would have
against
to
you.
enforce the covenant, so I would give them a building permit, and you would have to sue the town
Well,
to
we
get
tell
that
you not to
covenant
give them a
enforced.
building permit, and that would be the reason for you not to do it, is because the town
I
said.
can't enforce the covenant by state law. That was what the issue is.
Well, since this is on a private road, wouldn't it have to come before the...
Yes,
board
it has to come before the Board of
anyway to
Selectmen
approve
to
it?
get a
So
permit.
the board would
Right.
just say, we won't issue a permit
Right.
because there's already a...
Now, to me, one of the reasons, I actually am opposed to selling most of these, because I think you're better off with the open space down there than you are risking, say, for example, that junkyard expanding on the lot next door, or somebody or other coming in there and dumping a junky trailer on it. I mean, these lots are not gonna get good units, most of them, and you should only sell those that you think are going to have good development. I mean, to me, that's the issue, you're better off having them empty.
Dan?
It's still a liability, and plus, we should recognize code enforcement in the homeowner association. That place has cleaned up a lot in the past years, and we should recognize that and thank them.
I don't think anybody doesn't appreciate the
Andy?
yeoman's work they've done.
Andy hasn't come, I'm coming down your way. Andy,
I was just...
you have comments?
Oh, shut up.
No, you don't have to, you have everything, okay. Tracy, you're next.
Well, the rec department wants waterfront, so why don't we assign them 8 and 9 and let people go swimming?
You can ride out there.
Would they,
Parking and
would
safety.
they
Right
pay
out
the
there.
association to use the roadway?
Well, we
And help
can
us
give them
maintain the
4 for
roadway?
parking.
That's why,
What?
you can ride out there.
It's a
Anywhere with the parking.
You know, if I could just read something
So we
from
want to
the...
do nothing after all of this is what I'm
No, it's
hearing
just,
you
it's
say.
really nice to know. You have something else, please?
Yeah, I'm looking at RSA 80. They talk in there about, and what John was talking about, it says, you can do things other than just either have and it talks about auctions or when you do a bid thing. And in addition to that, what hasn't been discussed at all tonight is when they changed the RSA back in July of this year, you can get realtors involved, which maybe is the right thing to do with 52 and 54 or whatever. If they'd probably get the maximum amount if you wanted to get realtors involved on that thing. But the other thing, when it talks about as justice, things you want to do as justice may require, that's a quote. One of the things it says, the governing body can sell undeveloped parcels to abutters for consolidation into adjoining lots for the purposes of affordable housing development, preserving open space, or reducing development density. So I mean, the RSA even says in there that going to the abutters is an option.
And I would think you could go to the abutter with a stipulation it couldn't be built upon, and when that came into the board to get a building permit, you could just turn them down before it ever got to John. I mean, John would bring it here, it would be killed there, and that'd be the end of it.
John, do they have to show you the deed when they come before you for a building permit?
But you would have the right to look at anything you need for your class 6 and private roads.
Yeah, 'cause you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
If somebody here, that's exactly right. If it slips by, it's by.
But in the hard road to travel, it did come straight out and say that when you address it, you're supposed to be addressing road conditions and not because you want the lots to be open space or not developed. There's a different purpose for that in the RSA. I mean, the explanation on that hard road to travel was pretty clear, that you're supposed to base your decision on the road.
Right, but if you got a covenant that they can't do it, I would think you could do it on the
The
covenant.
town could probably enforce their own covenant because they're the ones that would have to enforce it.
Right.
So if as a town, you say, no, we're not gonna let you have the permit because of that, I still can't give them the permit because it's on a, but can you use the road for an excuse is the legal question.
Well, it's not an excuse, you're not letting them have a building permit.
But they're coming in for a class 6 and private road.
No, they're coming in for a building permit, and you're saying you can't
On
have
a
it.
class 6 and private
I know,
road.
but you're saying you can't have it, and the town could do that. You're not the one doing it, it's the board of selectmen.
Right. May I request that we table this, because I hate to make a decision without actually plopping myself in my little car and taking a drive out through there, just so I trust everything that the lands committee has done. I'd just like to be able to put eyes on it for my own comfort.
Well, Tracy brought up a good point, is to have the assessor go out, look at the property and have the assessor give a report back to John, and then once we have that, we can put it all together and look at it together. Is that acceptable, Tracy?
How many lots are they looking at? Right now I have 103, 8 and 9, and 52 and 49.
Yeah.
I have 4 lots.
George, the only thing I say is, John used the same word, assessor. The assessors are the ones that have said that some of these lots are worth $33,000 or something. Maybe a realtor, a local realtor might be a better person to
86
assess
says
them than.
value.
I agree.
The term assessor scares me because.
Well, if they're buildable unless proven that they're.
Yeah, I agree, let's send a realtor.
Several ones of
So
those that
that's
have
why
value.
they haven't been proven that they can.
So I did have.
You're
So,
leaving
what-
one off,
what is the-
John. The one you're leaving off is the one that the lot across the street would gain access to the water. It's circled on my listing.
104, 86. I'll put that one on.
Well, Lambert wants to buy it, and it gives the person right-of-way access to the water. So it certainly improves the value of their current
Sure.
land and home.
I mean, okay, I'll send out,
So those
actually
four
on
that are
6,
circled are
actually,
the
I'm up
ones
to
that-
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dan?
Paul Marcella offers services for, I think it was.
Well, listen, if he wants the services, he can send it to,
No, John's gone down.
to John. We're not here to promote anybody's
No,
business.
he sent it to John and we'll follow up and said he would help the town out when that law came out.
The other question I have, John, is that this deal with Rochester and flooding 6 feet more on Long Pond, what effect is that gonna have to these pieces of property?
It's not Long Pond, it's Round Pond.
Round Pond.
It's
Okay.
Actually,
Round
Ball
Pond.
Hill.
Huh?
It's actually Ball Hill.
Ball Hill?
Ball Hill Park. Used to be the best hunting for bobcat in there when I was a kid,
We have one
which
more
was
from
100
Melissa.
years
I just
ago.
wanted to give you one more food for thought. When you look at the assessed values, I don't know if you guys have that page now,
No,
but some of the assessed values, as he had stated, are pretty crazy for what the lots are. And I think in many cases, that's going to deter the landowners that you're talking about from having any interest in it all, because they're not going to want to pay what they're going to consider an absorbent amount of taxes. So the board may want to
that's their
consider.
choice, yep.
Yeah, they may want to consider either explaining to them about getting an abatement or having it reassessed or something, because it may deter them from you trying to get to your goal of rolling some of them. So I just wanted to mention that.
Melissa, thank you.
And that's one thing, if you put the covenant on it, it does then dramatically drop the value. Right.
Dan,
And if they choose to combine it with a covenant, it's not 2 lots, it's 1. With a covenant on it.
Well, does that create then a conundrum?
No, it does, it's not 2 lots. It's still 2 lots.
so,
Okay,
we got a lot more to do.
yeah.
well, moving on, I want to thank you very much for it, very informative, and it's very, very good. So we don't have any budgets, public comment. We've waited a long time, and I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
You can call this a night out.
As she wants to do.
So I'm Lindsay Maziarz. I am the trustee chair up at the library. I'm here to hand you all a request to review for you all to sign a revised engagement letter from Divine Millimet. Divine Millimet will be acting as the bond counsel for the town of Barrington and assisting with the legal matters pertaining to the bonding of the new library project. This letter supersedes the previous letter, which was signed by you on January 5th, 2018. As you know, the trustees and foundation have been working closely with S&P Architecture and Bowen Construction to decrease the bond amount. This letter reflects a changed bond amount from the letter that you all have on file or should have on file. It has a bond amount of 5.139 or something, the old numbers. So this one has the updated request for no more than 4.5. Once the letter has been signed, the library is happy to send it back, or if you all want to send it back, we just kindly ask that a signed copy be put in the library mailbox so we have that for our records.
Is that $4.50, 4.5, or are we going to talk 4.5 million? Would you?
4.5 million.
Thank you very much. I was looking for a clarification. Thanks.
I mean, sign that one.
Yeah. Oh, I'll sign it, yeah? John,
Can I see it?
oh, yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
thought you were raising your hand a minute.
No.
Didn't know I had that power. So, that's that. It's right on the front page, the number change.
It's a small print on the next page.
Yeah, I know.
Send it back.
Well, I don't need it right now, I'm sending it with you all, I don't know the process.
Okay, so this is a range of $6,000 to $8,000?
Yep, which is what we presented at the budget.
Yeah, also, it's discussions, yeah.
Is there a motion to sign that?
Is this on our agenda?
Nope.
No,
No.
No, this is public comment.
public comment, because you couldn't make the,
I like to read things before I make motions to sign them.
Okay.
So I will leave it with you all, like, this is what I expected, to leave it with you all, and
Have you got a copy of it too?
We'll make a copy.
oh, yes, we have numerous copies, thank you so much. You just be in touch with us so we know, because they'll ask us for the copy, and we'll just let them know. You guys will get it to us. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. Review of the minutes from November 5th.
Before she
Excuse me.
leaves, has there been an answer yet on the request of the board as far as timing of bonds, so that if they go this year, we don't go, and then they don't go the
Yes.
following
No,
year?
it's been the way.
Yeah, please.
Sure, there's been no answer because the trustees meets tomorrow. We haven't met in between when you asked us that, so thank you. We'll be back, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Just out of curiosity, what would it take to get that, like, if they're having a trustees meeting, to get that on our town calendar? Just because if you look at the town calendar, it shows that there's a select board meeting, a planning board meeting, but it doesn't show that there was a rec commission meeting tonight. It doesn't show that they're having their meeting tomorrow night, like, all these.
They would need to get that information to Paige and have her put it on the calendar.
And just from the standpoint of like how the town functions,
Yep.
I find it would be a whole lot
Well,
easier if you looked at one calendar.
What he's
and see
asking,
everything.
yes, you got me. What you're asking for is to have the dates sent to, Peyton, up for your, for your meeting. So when you have
So we can put
your
them on the
regular
calendar.
meeting
Sure.
on Tuesdays or Wednesdays,
Yeah.
you put those meetings in, just like ZBA and everybody else does.
Yeah, sure, it's the third Tuesday of every month, but absolutely, John, I don't have the email address to whom I need to send this to.
Yep, send it to me.
Send it to you and you'll forward it, okay.
You
Thank
knew
you.
me, you knew me on the email address, right?
Yes.
The one's still functioning for now.
All right, there isn't any other public comment? We have review of the minutes from November 5th. Comments, please.
Proposed changes went through?
What changes would you like, please?
No, they're fine.
So Tracy's referencing, a few minor changes were made to the original document sent. I sent an updated document a little bit before the meeting. Certainly if you're interested in postponing, that's up to the chair.
I don't have an issue with it.
Anybody have an issue with it?
No.
All right, have a motion for acceptance?
Make the motion to accept the meetings as
I'll-
amended.
I'll second it. Oh, Mrs. Hatch will second it.
No, it doesn't have to be Mrs. Ash.
Bailey, aye?
Nap aye.
Hatch eye.
Article 5.
There, I.
Thank you very much. Pass. John, you're up.
Okay. The ambulance equipment, a cardiac monitor, medical women's stair chair, that's about $40,000. The recommendation is to take it from the ambulance revolving fund. The current balance exceeds $100,000. The chief wants to stay with the same company for the stair chair as it's similar to current equipment. So will the board approve proceeding to use the revolving ambulance fund for the purchase of those items?
Dan?
We have problems with bids in this town, I feel, and then we have some just unhappy people that bid the town and stuff, just for,
So you have a problem with it?
no, I have a problem, and it should go out to bid, we want to get good prices for everyone in the future. If we just favor certain people, we're not gonna get good prices in the future, future projects.
Tracy?
If I recall, the fire chief mentioned there was only 2 cardiac monitor companies that we could
That's correct.
possibly purchase from. So while I appreciate that we would like to enter into the bidding process, it seems a moot point.
Can Rick comment to that?
I do have a comment I would like to make on it, and this is just something I brought up with keeping the ambulance in general, was my concern that suddenly now we're funding 2 ambulances,
Right.
and we have a whole lot of added extra cost on it, and I did express that concern when we decided to keep this ambulance.
And we were very clear right from the very beginning that it made sense to keep 2 ambulances in where we are at this point in the game, and I stand 100% firmly behind that, and I will defend that argument to keep the second ambulance. The issue that we're talking about here now is that there were 3 companies that did a cardiac monitor, now they're down to 2. We have put a request in for both companies to put a proposal in from cardiac monitor. One has provided the quote, the other company, their words, not mine. Our sales force is in a state of flux right now. We'll see what we can do for you.
Excuse me while you're still standing. Dan, you said that there was 3? Where'd that third ambulance come from?
That's the third company, not ambulance.
I didn't say,
You said now we have 3?
no, I said that we've got a lot of unhappy people bidding us. So even if we just get there's 2 people that bid in there, what's the purpose of them sharpening their pencil next time when we need something?
I'm not opposed to going through the bid process, and again, I think administrative scrutiny is merely trying to point out that within that fund to make these purchases.
If he's already gone out and asked for, let's say, quotes, he has one company that's willing, that has provided, the other company ends it with a "we'll see," that doesn't leave us much choice here, does it?
Well, we only can irate calls though, from people.
Thank you, Chairperson Bailey. The cardiac monitor you'd be purchasing, is it a like monitor to the one that's on the other ambulance so that you only have to do one type of training?
No, the monitor that we have is the company that is no longer supporting cardiac monitors. So the new monitor, the idea would be that we would purchase a new monitor this year, put it on the new ambulance, take the older monitor, put it back on the older ambulance, and in a couple of years buy a refurbed monitor that matches what the new monitor would be, so that we would be within a couple of years running two monitors that are the same.
And training for them would involve one, okay.
Well, John, what I would like to do, Chief, while you're still standing there, is that I understand you have a request of John, and John, I'm taking your thunder. I want to make sure we all get this. If you were to get approval to lend the other ambulance, you lend it with just the equipment that's on it?
I spoke to the town of Raymond ambulance squad this morning, told her that that ambulance could currently be used as a basic life support ambulance. It would not have a cardiac monitor on it. They're aware of that. That would be up to them to decide whether they were going to operate it at the basic level, or if they were going to put the needed equipment on it so they could run it as an ALS unit.
All right, thank you, John, I'm sorry to do. All right, so now we have the question is that he would like to turn around and order from the company that provided him the quote. We have opposition of doing that, so if you would like for him to go out for bid, he's willing to do that. So what is the board's choice on this, please?
I'm a firm believer in bids, you know that, and I think that Rick has gone with two. One gave him a quote, the other one didn't bother, which makes it sound he wasn't really interested one way or the other. So I don't see what more he needs to do to have met his obligation to someone to price. And that goes against everything I believe in, because I'm a firm believer in bids.
I think, if I may, I think ultimately what I'm going to end up needing to do, I'm going to give that other company a reasonable shot to come back, because I, like you, we're using the taxpayers' funds, and we should do the best job we can in using them funds. And I'm willing to give the other company a little bit of time to come back, and I think ultimately what will probably, and John can correct me, I think what you folks will end up likely needing to do would be to waive the requirement of having 3 bidders, because I don't think we're going to be able to get 3 bidders. So you folks may need to end up waiving the requirement of getting 3 bids. I'll come back with 2 quotes or bids, if you will, and then you folks will be able to make a decision.
How long would it take you to get that second quote back, Rick, do you think?
I think part of the issue is the holiday right now. So I think I probably couldn't make it for next Monday, but there's probably a good chance that I think I do my budget 2 weeks following, somewhere around December.
December 3rd is your date.
Yeah, all right, so I think it's reasonable that either the 3rd or the 10th, I should be able to have something for you.
Comments from the board? Is that acceptable to everybody?
As far as I'm concerned, it shows he's working with us. And if you get only 2 bids in the third...
We waive at that time, right?
Yeah, if you don't get a third one, I mean, what more can you say? I sent it out to 3 people, I didn't get anything back.
There's three companies in the United States that make these things, and one of them is not servicing them right now.
Yep.
But also the stair chair.
Yeah, the stair chair, and I'll get a price that probably doesn't fall under the bid requirement, anyway, it's probably cheap enough that.
But the question I had for the board is this coming out of the ambulance revolving fund?
What's the balance of the ambulance?
No, somewhere around 130,000.
130,000. Comments from the board, please?
How is the ambulance revolving fund defined?
The ambulance revolving fund is defined as paying for staff, equipment, and ambulance.
I know we've been using it for the ambulance, but I didn't know, I'm trying to remember exactly how the warrant was
So
written for that.
50 cents on the dollar of everything collected goes into their revolving fund. The other 50 cents goes into the general fund. And that's for the replacement of ambulances, which we just bought the new ambulance out of that. Equipment to maintain that ambulance and assist with weekend staffing.
But I don't think it's limited to weekend staffing,
No.
but that's what we use it for.
So we're looking for a motion from the board to approve expending up to $40,000 from the ambulance revolving fund,
Yes.
having Chief Walker approach the two companies that are still maintaining cardiac monitors and bring back two prices. If he does not receive two prices, he can proceed with purchasing the one that responds. That's my motion.
He's going to bring it back, I'll second that, but he's going to bring it back to us on December 3rd.
If there's two. If not,
That's correct. He's going to have it to us by December 3rd. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, is there further discussion? Andy?
I just don't like it, but I made that known way back when.
All right, Dan, you start, if you don't have a comment, would you please start the vote?
Yeah, I supported for the third.
Beg your pardon?
I support the bids for the third.
He's saying,
And,
Are you supporting taking it from the ambulance fund? That's what the motion is.
and we're gonna go all the numbers on that too, for everything on the third?
Oh,
I'm not abstaining.
The motion,
No, no, no,
the motion that's on the floor is to take the money out of the ambulance fund to pay for the pieces, two
up to
pieces of equipment.
40,000.
Up to
I
I
40,000.
abstain at
Gonna
this
bring
time,
back
I
the
don't have enough
monitor.
information.
If you can get two quotes.
Hardikoff, aye.
So how did you,
Dan, how did you vote?
I abstain because I don't have enough information.
Thank you very much.
This time.
Hardikoff, yes. Mrs.
Is,
Mitch?
is that motion include, now I forgot what it was.
The cardiac monitor, the
Yeah,
stationary,
if
the
that
medical
was-
equipment, yeah.
So that includes both issues.
Yeah.
But yet only one is gonna come out of the,
Only one is
Fine.
coming back to the board because only one triggers the bid exception, which is the monitor. That's 35,000 of the money. Well, I mean, he's gonna bring back the quote.
yeah, I know it, but to me, that motion kinda turned that quote around.
What do you mean?
Well, it didn't, I mean, there was more to it than just bringing back a quote on the third.
Oh, no, but it's using the ambulance fund to pay for it when you buy it.
Would I ask the clerk to please read the motion back, please?
Or you're gonna watch the tape.
I know, and to add about the two bids, the two quotes, that one hasn't been received, that he was gonna come back when he does his budget, either the 3rd or the 10th.
If I may, I'll just ask that you table this, and I'll come back with something for you folks to decide on.
Thank you, I
Thank you,
think
Fred.
that's a good
I
idea.
appreciate it.
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to allow Raymond to use the ambulance.
Excuse me, we have one motion on the table. We can't bring another one up until we finish this one.
You wanna try yours?
No, once you withdraw the second.
I withdrew the second. Who-
It's a dead motion.
Who's going to withdraw the motion? Tracy, are
There's
you
no
willing to-
second.
No second?
There's no second.
So it's a
You
dead
withdrew
motion.
the second.
So, does anybody else want a second? Seeing none, motion doesn't carry. Sorry, Tracy. Now I have a motion from Mr. Knapp.
I second it.
Yes, motion from second to allow Raymond to use the ambulance.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Aaron.
No further discussion.
Well, that's why we have the vote, we didn't get any discussion. So now we could, are we gonna let them use the ambulance?
You want to vote?
Yes, ma'am. We had a motion, second, no further discussion.
I am fully in support. Article 5.
Hatch eye.
Nap aye.
Yeah.
Okay, there was an ambulance bill in which the insurance did not pay the complete amount, and the Barrington resident now cannot work and requests the balance be waived for hardship. The chief supports this, I support it.
What's the amount of the bill?
Hang on 1 second.
I'm making a budget, man. This is right to the end.
Like pain.
Tylenol, right?
The amount of bill was $765.91. The insurance company paid $528.18, leaving a balance of $237.73 to the resident.
I would make a motion that we waive the balance of the bill for the individual that is no longer able to produce an income.
Second that motion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to vote. Mr. Air.
No, nay.
Article 5.
Hatch eye.
Nap aye.
Bailey, aye. Motion carries 4-1.
Old Settlers Culvert, the state has approved the 80% match and has approved the contract with HTA to do the engineering. So will the board vote to approve the use of $46,219 from the Bridge Culvert Capital Reserve and to request those funds from the trustees of the trust funds?
I'll make a motion to approve $46,219 from the Bridge Culvert Capital Reserve Fund and request those funds from the trustees.
And I would second.
Okay, we have Tracy seconds it. Any further discussion? Dan, do you have further discussion?
Engineers are not gonna come back and read the extras on this? Is that a firm number?
Well, they can run into anything that could, they may find Indian arrowheads, they may find ledge, they may find other things that will change it. That is the quote for what the work is, assuming that the conditions are as they expect them to be. But
Yeah.
Probably
Or the bridge is built to rugged?
So does that answer your question, Mr. Air?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you want to vote?
Air aye.
Article 5.
Hatch eye.
Nap aye.
Bailey, aye.
I have given a new job description for the finance officer. She has submitted her resignation. We will be advertising to fill this. This is a full-time position. There are minor changes from the 2016 version that was approved by the board. We no longer have a deputy finance director. The position that she reports to is the finance director. We've changed the revenue clerk's title. We've changed a couple of other things about the way that it's structured within for job expectations, but basically it's the same job description as 2016, and we plan to put it out for advertisement as soon as possible. She's given us 2 weeks' notice. She accepted a very nice job in the Boston area.
I congratulate her today.
The only thing I ask is that going forward, as you are hiring for positions, that there becomes some type of continuity with the physical demands.
That's the very same physical demands as the last set. I didn't change those.
They don't match the outline of the physical demands on the TA job description at all. And
Well, they're different.
well, I mean, technically they're both office jobs, John. I just.
You want all the
it's-
office jobs to look the
No, I
same.
don't want them to all look the same, but it's highly unlikely that the office jobs vary very much, and so it would be prudent to have appropriate matching physical demands. If you end up in any type of ADA compliance issue with these jobs, it's literally going to be, well, how come the finance officer is different than the finance director's physical demands, different than the town administrator's physical demands? You're all sitting at a computer all day. I don't think there's a large difference in the equipment that you're using anymore. That's just my feedback on this. What did you change about the job description?
I changed it no longer says deputy finance director for a report because it's now the finance director, because we changed that position. The revenue clerk, we just basically changed it to all the revenue staff because now the tax collector, the town clerk, both hand their revenue up through for reconciliation to the finance officer. That was basically it. I think there was something I took out.
What about, did the range change?
The range had been approved to be a 19 last year, so that didn't change, but it's not the same as 16. In other words, the job description in 16 was adjusted, the range was adjusted without the job description being adjusted.
Okay. And then how about the qualifications for the position? Was the position always a bachelor's degree with specialization in accounting, business, finance, or human resources field?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I added the word fund balance, I think I may have added the word fund there, but that's the only change I can remember making.
So this is for fund accounting, and anywhere in here, do you list that knowledge of generally accepted accounting practices needs to be, no.
May I make a suggestion to have John and Tracy gussy this up, just to be a little bit more appropriate for what we're actually looking to accomplish, a little more professional for our town standpoint?
I'll second that.
Do the job skills and get that primary physical requirements in line.
On the,
Well, I'd suggest to you that he could put the position out there without listing the full job description and at least bullet point the essential position functions and begin to get applicants.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
okay.
yeah.
But,
General accounting,
Would you
general
support
accounting.
I think this needs to be, yeah, I think it would be nice if there was continuity each time that a job description is updated, that it follows, you wanna look at that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than.
That it follows a standard position description that you begin using going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you hired somebody that had,
You mean in terms of the ADA?
I mean, in terms of your entire process,
That's
human
exactly what I was
resource
going
wise,
with.
that you use one format.
Well, it is
Position
pretty much the
description.
same format. It's the general description, then the supervision received, and then the job duties, and then the requirements, and
Can we let the two of you take this offline and?
The only thing
Gussie
I'd
it
like
up.
to mention on this primary physical requirements, shouldn't they, I mean, I realize that we're all the same, man or woman, but it just seems that some of these things you might expect a man to lift, but you wouldn't expect a woman to.
I don't expect a woman to lift the same thing I expect a man to lift for that
Yes,
position.
as would I.
Well, see,
The look on my face, yes. If
See,
you
I
said to me I needed to lift 50 pounds and that was part of my job description, I'd lift the 50 pounds.
Well, I lift
Frankly,
the-
the weightlifting here, the reams, it's cases of paper is the biggest thing they lift and the heaviest.
It was salt today going downstairs.
while we can move this on, does anybody,
No, I just, I think that's.
does anybody disapprove
No.
of Tracy and John getting together and ironing out some of the rough points in this job description? Does anybody object to that? Okay, John, you
Yep, well,
Tracy,
Connor
take
too
care.
will be involved.
All right, John, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I just
Um,
would also like to
any-
agree with Tracy's position about, because I don't know if anybody did, about putting it out even though it's, needs to be
Right.
cleaned up.
Oh, it's going out, yeah.
They're just going to do the
Yeah.
bullet points first.
I mean, I need to get this filled as quick as possible because of year end.
Yep.
The last thing, does the board want me to give any response to the Liberty truck letter, or like, thank you for sending your concerns in kind of response, or what would you like to do?
I was going to request that we have a conversation about it in non-public, just because it does, it is a reputation.
Yep, that's fine.
All right, non-public, then we want reputation.
That's all I have.
Are we still working on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this is
looking at the
mine.
agenda,
Yeah.
We're on my report.
staff report, okay.
Yep.
Look, McNeil.
I have an intent to cut. I have a private road agreement that just needs one signature because it's just additional storage space. The county tax is due on the 17th of December, and you're asked to sign a letter of commitment, I guess.
Yep.
We'll review it.
Then a DOT letter for work on the Malago Bridge work, regarding the Malago Bridge work, and 2 payroll manifests from November 11th.
That's just when you signed. When you signed to close the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything else? Old business. Anybody have anything for old business?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Thank you, Chairperson Bailey. John had brought to us the copy of the town administrator job description and asked us to review it and provide input. I actually took that, took the written deputy town administrator job description, took the meeting minutes from a closed meeting that took place about select board expectations, and also some areas of an old performance review, and identified areas within the select board's perspective of what might be included in a rewrite of the town administrator job description. And I took a stab at combining all of those. So there is an example of that here that I can pass out, that probably 2 weeks from now, perhaps after John and Connor review it, they could provide their input in reference. That's the whole thing. You want the whole thing?
Oh, that's it,
Yeah,
I'm
3
sorry.
pages.
Okay.
And I would say the physical demands.
Can you email that to us?
I can, yeah. I would say that the physical and environmental conditions listed here, physical ability and environmental conditions listed, would be, in my opinion, a more appropriate way to look at some of the seated jobs that occur within town administration.
Well, the town administrator's job requirements are much broader than those of AA, for example, because they're outside doing things as well. But the reason we do it the other way is because it gives the doctors specificity rather than generalities when the doctor has to sign off that a person can return to full duty and not to full duty. So they could say, you can't lift, you can't reach, you can't twist, you know, whatever.
No, I understand that, John, but that's true of you too. Like, I mean.
I know, but I have to go outdoors, I have to be on uneven ground, I have to do things which are different. The AA position is, I mean, I agree, the finance officer and an AA are probably very similar in what they have to do. But the town administrator, physical requirements would be different.
All right, so we have this document to review. I'd like the 2 of you to look it over, have your comments. Anybody on the board? Anybody on the board has these comments, please either send them to myself or send them to Tracy.
I'm gonna send John the electronic version of this for him and Connor to review.
Yeah.
And actually, I just found one spelling error on the 3rd page.
So is that acceptable to?
2
In
weeks.
fact, just omit me. Why don't we just send them to Tracy and then we'll have the updates for, how much time do you think we should have?
Well, why don't we review it and then send our review results to the entire board?
I think that's a good idea, John, but also keep in mind, and while the 2 of you are reviewing this, this is actually the select board's
Right.
providing what they feel the chief administrative officer should be doing.
Right, and you
So-
want our input on it.
I do want your input, but I want you to be mindful that there may be things that you don't agree with that the select board still wants to see in there.
I fully understand
Okay.
that.
Thank you for your work on this.
Okay, now, the next item I brought up here under old business is the holiday schedule. Just to reiterate for those that are at home, Tuesday, December 25th, we're closed. Wednesday, December 26th, we're open 8 a.m. to 5. Saturday, December 29th.
This is a transfer station schedule you're going
Yeah,
over.
transfer station schedule I'm doing for that, yes, I'm sorry. I meant to say transfer station for those of you at home. Then on Saturday the 29th, 8 AM to 5. And then on January 1st, Tuesday, January 1st, it'll be closed. It'll be open Wednesday, January the 2nd, from 8 AM to 5. And then Saturday, January 5th, 8 to 5 PM. That takes care of the new holiday hours for the transfer club. Next item I have is the holiday party. There was some questions that were called into me at home from select persons, so attendance to this party needs to be put out to who's invited and who isn't.
The Board of Selectmen and their spouses are invited, or guests, a guest or spouse, and employees. And the employee we pay for, the guest the employee would pay for. It's the same with the Board of Selectmen. We'll pay for the selectman to go, but if the selectman wants to bring a spouse, then that would be a $10 charge.
So this is a Barrington Town employee.
Yep, Barrington Town employee and Board of Selectmen. This is
Now-
not an all boards or anything like that.
Yes, what I'm heading to, John, is that we had an all boards meeting in, what month was that when I met your son for the first time at the playground?
Oh, you're talking about the
March.
summer meeting?
The summer,
It was,
no, but it was the all boards
yeah,
meeting.
yeah, it was the
All boards barbecue that we
Yep.
had.
May or June.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so I just want to make reference to that. Now, is there any other questions from board members on this holiday party information?
The reason it's in Rochester is that Nippo is undergoing renovations. And this is, Rochester, Nippo is owned by the same group as, so that's why it's in Rochester.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah. Since there's no other questions, is there any other old business?
Oh, when you're talking holiday schedule, the office this week will close on Wednesday at 5 because motor vehicles are shutting down
Thank you.
and there's
I
no
was
point
like,
in.
someone tell them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had it pulled up.
And it's
right
going
here.
on, and it's going on the website as well, but this week at 5 on Wednesday instead of 6.
Everyone making pies.
Well, yeah, but people who've waited till the last minute.
All right,
to
so
register their
is there
vehicles,
any
that's
other old
the-
business? Seeing none, is there any new business? Seeing none, selectmen's report. Select person there.
Conservation was at the meeting, and they're working on the Goodwill Richardson parking lot. It's going out to bid soon, but probably won't happen until the spring. Forester Charlie Marino is come address the conservation of all forest management plan meeting coming up this month in December. I don't know the date, but it'll be on the agenda. Thank you.
Select person Hardikoff.
Tonight at 6 o'clock, there was a recognition meeting and it duplicated what we saw here. So I began attendance and then came over here. So basically what took place was the consultant's report out.
That was just great. We enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, that's very good.
Select person Hatch?
I still don't know any more about whether we're gonna have a meeting on Thanksgiving Eve or not. No one can seem
I
to.
think you have to, because it's been posted.
It was scheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was scheduled, but according to what they told me today, that the people might wanna cancel
A
it
postponement?
or postpone
But
it.
don't, they have to do it at the meeting?
They still gotta hold the meeting and then
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, and to me, if they're gonna come to do that, they might just well go through the meeting and get it
No,
done.
no, we'll do, you'll probably do like we used to do, is just motion to postpone, yes, and that's it, okay, see you
Or
later.
you can vote to hold it and
Yeah.
review the variance and vote to either non-accept it or accept it. Why make them come back again?
Right,
If
y'all
they're
there.
there, they might just well have it taken care of.
Agree with you. Thank you. Select
If there's
person,
enough people.
I got that, select person there.
Planning board meetings tomorrow.
All right, select person Bailey, it's tomorrow also, so that's where we're at.
What's
Any-
tomorrow? Oh, library,
Yeah,
Richardson?
yeah. Anybody else in public comments? Huh?
Should be on the town website.
He'll do that.
It will be.
Mr. Walk.
30 seconds, I promise. 300th anniversary committee met a week ago. The steering committee, the people involved want a grassroots effort. We want it to be primarily a grassroots effort without the town getting involved in a lot of, putting a lot of money into it. We will be probably looking for the town to assist in big ticket items, but we intend to try to do fundraisers and different things to do the majority of the getting the money raised for whatever it is. A lot of good ideas came out of it. First order of businesses is that we're going to meet with Charter to ask him to help us set up a few guidelines for a 300th anniversary logo, and then we would like to do a contest for people from town to submit their ideas for the logo. With hopefully we can pare that down to when we get to 4 or 5 of them, and the idea is on voting day to have a straw poll, let people come in whether they're registered voters or not, and throw something in a bucket, and whoever wins most will be the town scale. So that's where we're at right now.
You could have them each vote with a dollar bill in different buckets, and then you raise money.
And our next meeting is
Really enjoying it. That was
Thursday
good.
after, a week from Thursday.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Any other comments?
That was more than.
Seeing none, I would like a motion to go in a non-public session for reputation.
Personnel reputation.
Personnel reputation, oh, okay. Personnel, I have personnel to it also. Okay, so it's personnel reputation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
There, Hardikoff, aye.
Ash, aye.
Bye-bye.
Bailey, aye. Meet, public